Cowboy fans, Cowboy haters alike, I'm the G. I'm the host of Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. Doing something a little new whenever I go live. I'm just getting right into it. For the people who catch me on the replay, you don't have to skip 3 or 4 or 5 minutes ahead. You're just getting right into it. This is Overreaction Monday, and I have been listening all this morning to all the talking heads, everything they have to say about the Dallas Cowboys, and it is so crazy out there, man. The Cowboys, I mean, I'm sure it's like this with other teams too, but I mean with the Cowboys, man, it's just extra drama. Because we're the team that everyone loves and the team that everyone hates. There's no in between. And so there's no in-between opinions when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. It's just crazy all over the place. I mean, they've been going crazy on X. They've been going crazy in the media talking about this. And I have a perspective, not just based on my opinion, but I have a perspective that is based upon the facts. And I'm telling you, the facts is what make people mad. But I'm not the only one who has these perspectives based on the facts. I got a clip that I'm going to play from Tom Downey. Tom Downey said the same thing I said about Cooper Rush. Folks don't want you to tell the truth about Cooper Rush. They just want you to get on the Cooper Rush bandwagon. Don't work like that with me. I don't dislike Cooper Rush. I like Cooper Rush. He's a good backup quarterback. But I'm going to tell the truth. It is what it is. I'm going to tell the truth about this Cowboys game. I'm going to tell the truth about this whole thing with Mike McCarthy. Everything we have going on. Let me tell you some of the overreactions I want to talk about today. I want to talk about, again, Mike McCarthy. We're going to listen to some things that Jerry Jones has said about Mike McCarthy. We're going to talk about the reality that is Cooper Rush. We're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb. I want to talk about Brandon Aubrey. And I'm going to mention some things about Dan Orlovsky and Bobby Belt. If we don't get to all of this in this session, we will get to this in the second session. I do plan on doing the late show tonight after the Monday night game. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk about Trey Lance. I got some things to say about Trey Lance. So, let's get into this. Shout out, what's going on, Darrell Carter, Jared Thomas, Super Cooper, what's going on, Jay Recruiter? Let's talk until people get in. And if they don't, it'll just be us. So I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys game, and, you know, people do not, I don't know. I don't look at games the same way people look at games. I'm looking at the totality of games. I don't get caught or captured by a moment in a game. When all the smoke clears, I want to look at the game for what it is, so I can truly understand what the game is telling me. I don't want to look at the game and then listen to the pundits and then start preaching the same narratives they're preaching. No, I want to look at the tape. I want to look at the stats. I want to hear what everyone's saying based on the stats or the facts or their opinion. And then I want to give a full analysis of what I'm seeing and even an analysis of what I'm hearing. Because some people's analysis, I'm just telling you the truth. Some people's analysis is not based on facts. Some people's analysis are based on hatred or based on just a pure, unadulterated love for the Cowboys no matter what. But I think it's important for us that so we can have the right perspective on this team, we can look at these games and enjoy them, and we don't have to walk around either being angry or being overly hyped up over these wins, that we can clearly see what our team is, so that we can be the kind of fans that when we talk, we say, hey, this is what we really need. This is what we really need as it applies to this team and what we need going forward. What's going on, CB? Yeah, late show. Yeah, I'm going to try to do it again tonight. Miss Matrix, what's going on? Devontae, what's going on? Yeah, we got kicked out, Devontae. I hate it too. And I'm telling us, I want to get started with the Mike McCarthy thing. I got some stats pulled up, some next generation stats pulled up, and I want to talk about some of these things today as we talk about this Cowboy game. Because when you look at this game in the totality, I said it last night, I'll say it again. It was a tale of two halves. It was a tale of two halves. It was the Cowboys from the first half, and then it's the Cowboys from the second half. And it's amazing to me, Bobby Belt said some of the same things I said, but Bobby Belt this morning, Bobby Belt today, Bobby Belt has got my spidey senses tingling. Bobby Belt has got my spidey senses tingling. Because Bobby Belt was saying some things about last night's game that I had mentioned before, but the depth that he went on it, he said some things that I hadn't even noticed. But I'm going to see if, let me pull it up real quick. Because I'm very concerned about how the Cowboy fans and how people are looking at Mike McCarthy. And a lot of people may not realize the discussions that we're having about Mike McCarthy today, they're actually the same discussions we've been had about Mike McCarthy since he's been here. And the discussion is can Mike McCarthy get this team over the hump? Can he get this team? Because these themes, I'm telling you, this is stuff we've been talking about all season long, and we do not realize it. But it's amazing what winning does. It's amazing what winning does. What's going on, Roberto? What's going on? What's going on, Danny's Cowboys? I'm telling us, we may not realize it, but we're having the same discussions about Mike McCarthy. LaQueen, what's going on? We're winning these games. But the question is this really any different than anything we've seen before? I mean, is it really any different? I mean, this is really, even what we saw last night, it's a tale of two halves, and almost the epitome again of the Cowboys season. We were lights out first half. We were lights out first half. Just lights out. Boom, boom, boom. And again, someone was telling me today that this was not the Cooper Rush formula. Yes, it was the Cooper Rush formula. It was the Cooper Rush formula. But Bobby Belt, and I'm going to let you hear Bobby Belt in a moment, Bobby Belt is going to put us up on even more game as it applies to the Cooper Rush, not only Cooper Rush formula, but he even put me up on more game as it applies to Mike McCarthy and what Mike McCarthy may be doing. And I'm not sure I agree with his entire conclusion. But what he's saying about Mike McCarthy and what he did last night, I mean, it was very eye-opening for me what Mike McCarthy did. And I'm going to let Bobby Belt tell you also. But at the end of the day, it's got my spidey senses tingling because I said it last night and I'm going to say it again. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment because we like to say, oh, yeah, we've won how many out of the last 5? But we want to omit the Philadelphia Eagle game. We want to omit the Houston Texans game. We even want to omit the entire beginning of the season. Do y'all realize we didn't bring on any free agents? Somebody got to talk real now. Only person I can recall we brought on was Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo is the only major free agent. I mean, I know we've picked some guys up off the streets because of injuries and put them on practice squads and moved them up. But the reality is, everybody that's on this team, for the most part, they've been on this team from the beginning of the season. I'm just not going to forget the first half of the season. Y'all can. People can. I'm not forgetting the beginning of the season. Do y'all know that Rico Dowdle has been on this team the whole season? Even these offensive line parts, they've all been here the whole season. And some people are saying ridiculous things like, hey, this team plays better without Dak Prescott. Spider-Man, what's going on, man? What's going on? It's like I ain't seen you in the chat in a minute. Now, what I'm saying, Spider-Man, I'm not talking about at the beginning of the season. I'm talking about mid-season. I'm not talking about the off-season. I'm talking about mid-season. I mean, we haven't had any major acquisitions mid-season. We didn't bring in anybody at the trade deadline that made us go, oh, wow, this guy's about to make a difference. What I'm saying is the majority of the players on this team that we're watching right now, they've been here pretty much since the beginning of the season. All of these people, for the most part. I mean, the Leo Faus, he's been here. Kendricks, he's been here since the beginning of the season. He wasn't a free agency acquisition as in we got him at the trade deadline. Or we got him off the streets in week 6 and he came in and made a difference. A lot of these people that are playing, they are people that have been on this team. And I'm not forgetting the beginning of this season. See, we're giving Mike McCarthy all of this quote-unquote credit. It's not about what, see, that's not where I'm going, Troy, about who I would bring up. No, what I'm saying is that what we are seeing, these players have all been here. And because of injuries, some of these players are playing. But at the end of the day, we got to look at this season in its totality. The real issue is we got to just boil it down. Whether it was Jerry Jones, whether it was Mike McCarthy, whether it was a combination. This season, let's not be prisoners of the moment. This season is an absolute failure. It's an absolute failure. Because even before the injuries, this season was an absolute failure. And we want to blame it on the quarterback. The team plays better with Cooper Rush. No, I don't think the team plays better with Cooper Rush. The stats are even showing. This is the delirious part. The delusional delirious part. No. Actually, the stats don't even show this team plays better without Dak Prescott. It doesn't. That's the delusion. You have to question, how is it? Because it's not just Dak Prescott. How is it that you couldn't win in the toughest part of your schedule when you had starters? Why is it in the toughest part of your schedule you didn't run the ball? Let me tell y'all something about last night. And Bobby Belt's going to put us up on game. Don't think for a second that the Cowboys couldn't have ran the ball. Mike McCarthy came out last night determined not to run the ball. And I give him credit because I think the Buccaneers had a game plan. I think the Buccaneers had a game plan to not let them run the ball. But do not be fooled by the fact that he still could have ran the ball. Keep telling y'all, the run game isn't about dominant. It's not about a dominant run game unless you have a dominant run game. Now, if you got a dominant run game, I mean, you're dumb not to run and dominate. But running the ball is not about dominating. It's not about a dominant run game. The run game is about dominating the game. You run the ball. You keep cracking at that defense. You continue to crack that defense. You get them on their heels, and then you set up your play action, and then you can hit them with whatever you want to down the field later on in the game. Later on in the game. Remember what I just said. Why didn't we do this in the early parts of the season? Why didn't we? And I'm going to be 100% real with you. Because some of those teams we played in the beginning, people don't want to acknowledge. The real truth is, one, they were better than us. The other truth we don't want to face about the early part of the season is that the coaching for this team was atrocious. It was atrocious. It was absolutely atrocious. And we have to admit the other parts. There was no continuity on the team because we saw where I think it was Micah Parsons. He stayed out of the voluntaries. He stayed out of that stuff. We didn't get CeeDee Lamb at all. You got your quarterback walking around till the 9th hour. Don't know if he's going to be signed. I mean, we pranced. I want y'all to understand. We're forgetting all this stuff. We pranced Trey Lance all up and down through the entire facility, trying to prove that he could take the place of the starting quarterback. Trying to use him as a bargaining chip, which is still ironic to me. The quarterback that everyone is talking about, the Cowboys didn't choose to use him as the bargaining chip. And I know why they didn't choose to use him, because when you look at his numbers, even when you look at the performance, bravo, Cooper Rush. You're playing like a backup. And you're doing a good job. You're doing exactly what you want a backup to do. That if my backup go down, if my starting quarterback goes down, what do I really want my backup to do? I want y'all to think about this. So yesterday, Jalen Hurts went down. Jalen Hurts goes down yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me ask y'all the question. Let me ask y'all the question. What's the expectation? What's the expectation that if Jalen Hurts goes down, Kenny Pickett comes in? What's the real expectation? Is the expectation that Kenny Pickett is to come in? Is Kenny Pickett to come in and tear the whole field up, throw for 300, 400 yards all over the yard? Kenny Pickett comes in, he takes Jalen Hurts' spot. Let's say Jalen Hurts doesn't come back for the remainder of the season. Is the expectation that Kenny Pickett wins the rest of the game for the Philadelphia Eagles? Now, if you tell me it is, I mean, your expectations actually are not I mean, maybe that's what you want, but the expectation is we actually don't expect. We don't expect, those of us who understand he's a backup for a reason, where we don't expect Kenny Pickett to come in and win the next 2 games. Kenny Pickett comes in and we hope he can win maybe one of the next 2 games, is what we hope. Or maybe, hey, maybe we can do something on special teams. Maybe the defense can get some turnovers. Maybe we can convert to an extremely strong running game and we can manufacture some wins with Kenny Pickett. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but that's the expectation. You're hoping that your backup can go 500. That's the truth. You're hoping your backup can go 500. Maybe he can get you a game above 500. But that's really what you're hoping, because that's realistic. That is absolutely realistic. That's what you want. Now, our team, we're not realistic, because some of us think the backup is better than the starter. And so every time he wins, we just go crazy. Super Bowl, man. I mean, it was crazy what we were talking about. I mean, this whole thing about us, the fact that we were going to win out and, man, we're going to make a playoff run like the Giants with Tom Coughlin. Stop it. It was just crazy talk. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at what has transpired since Dak Prescott has been out, we should be happy with the result from this perspective. Cooper Rush has played like a backup. He's done the job of a backup, and we should be applauding him as a backup. He's done a great job for the most part. I mean, and what I mean by a great job is, I don't know how you say a backup does a great job unless the backup comes in and does something that you actually don't expect. I mean, if the backup comes in and does something that you don't expect, that's when you go like, wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. But I want you to think about this. I love how people like to block games off. People like to block games off. And I'm going back to Mike McCarthy because this is all a part of it. We like to block games off because if we block games off, then the games get to tell us the narratives that we want to push when it comes to a certain player or when it comes to a certain opinion that we have. But nope, I'm not doing it. We're going to have to we got to go with the facts. Let's look at what he's done in totality, just as we hone in on the Buccaneers game. This is Cooper Rush. Lost to the Eagles, lost to the Texans, beat the Commanders, beat the Giants, lost to the Bengals, beat the Panthers, beat the Buccaneers. That's a backup performance. What else is it? It's a backup performance. Bravo. We have to stop on this fan base being a prisoner of the moment. We're acting like because the funny thing is the rest of the world isn't acting like us. The rest of the world actually isn't acting like us because they're looking at us laughing because we're acting like we were winning Super Bowls or we won the Super Bowl last night. And the reality is we won the game And we don't even want to admit, because no one wants to spoil the fact that they're saying that Cooper Rush had the best game of his career, when the reality is Cooper Rush had the best first half of his career. I don't know if I call it the best game of his career, but it was the best first half of his career, quote unquote, statistically speaking. But Cooper Rush has done exactly what you want to back up to do. Can he go 500? Can he go a game above 500? Great. But I'm going to give you the real deal here. I'm going to give you the real deal. I'm going to tell you my whole reaction would be different if it was this issue right here. Let me pull something up for you. Let me tell you where I would start if Cooper Rush was doing this, where I would be having a whole different mindset. There's a team out there that the backup quarterback came in, and this is the only thing he's done the entire season. His name is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was not supposed to be the starter. The reality is Sam Darnold is not, he's supposed to be, he's supposed to be like he's just going to be somebody that our starter got hurt, so maybe he can get us like what you expect from a starter. Maybe he gets us in however many games we got. Maybe he gets us to 10 and who knows, 10-7, 9-8. I mean, maybe he can get us maybe in playoff contention. But Sam Darnold, win. Sam Darnold, win. I'm sorry, lost to the Detroit Lions, and it went down to the line, to the very buzzer. Loss. Win. I would be maybe having some of the same thoughts that other people are having when you think about a backup quarterback and he comes in and you look up at this point in the season, and I'm going somewhere with this. You look up at this point in the season and he's 13-2. We'd be having some serious conversations. But of course, as it pertains to our Dallas Cowboys, we're not even in the race. We're 7-8. And the reality is, even before, and let's be honest with ourselves, even before the injuries started to happen, we were not looking right. We came out in that Cleveland game like gangbusters. And we didn't look right after that. We didn't look right. And we started losing players. But we still didn't look right. We did not look right. We did not look right all season, y'all. And I'm saying that about this, all of this I'm saying because of Mike McCarthy. I'm not forgetting that part. I'm not forgetting that part. I'm not forgetting any of this stuff. This game is not the summary of this season. It's not the summary of this season as in this is the game that's, hey, man, we're the best team in the league. No, but it is the epitome of it to me in a way, because it was a tale of two halves. First half, on point. Second half, we had to survive. We had to survive in the second half. And now, here we are again, and we don't even realize what's happening with us right now. We have actually been just so inconsistent all the way through the season. We get the backup in, and we're still not really consistent. But because we're winning, and I'm going to give us credit because we've beat 2 winning teams in this run, I still say we caught the Commanders sleeping. We beat the Buccaneers, and I want you to think about how we're winning these games. We're winning these games by a incredibly, once again, the same way we're losing them is the same way we're winning them. And I know we don't like this, but the same way we're losing them is the same way we're winning them. Somebody says last night, I've been hearing people saying, we're one fluky play away with the Cincinnati Bengals. We're one fluky play away with the Cincinnati Bengals. And we would actually be, 5-0 or something in the last 5 games? Okay. Let me help us out again. So we're talking about the fluky play against the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me see here. I want to remind us, there's an old saying sometimes when you get a girl and you cheat, y'all cheating, y'all get together, and the saying goes, how you get them is how you keep them. So, you cheat on somebody else to get your girlfriend, then your girlfriend's probably going to cheat on you and go with somebody else. So when you go back again and you look at this last few games, so we got convincingly beat by the Eagles and the Texans. Do we not realize we had a fluky play against the Washington Commanders? We had a very fluky play. If they don't miss an extra point and tie that game up, what does that game look like in the end? What does it look like? What does that game look like in the end? That's a very fluky play. How many times on a routine extra point, you get a bad snap, a bad hold, and a bad kick? The kicker has since been put on IR from what my understanding is. They said he had a bad hip, but it was a fluky play. Kevontae Turpin on a Madden-like play, drops the ball, does a spin move, takes it to the crib. They come back, touchdown. I mean, it was a very crazy game. If you look at this score and didn't look at the quote-unquote box score quarter by quarter, you would think, man, that was a shootout. No, it wasn't. It's one of the craziest games I've seen this season. It was literally like watching paint dry until the mid-fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden, everything took off. It was a very fluky play that we won the game on. You go to the Giants game. The Giants put up 20 points on us with the first week Drew Lock. And if not for an incredible play by one Demarion Overshown, I mean, that game was not headed in the right direction. It was that play that really broke that game open for the Dallas Cowboys. And so when you think about the win against the New York Giants, I mean, you're getting these phenomenal plays that are just incredible. That one happened earlier in the game, but it was the game turner because the Cowboys, it was looking like paint drying again. The offense was very stale against the Giants. The Bengals, we know about the fluky loss on a play. The Panthers game, it was a dominant game. Very dominant game by the Cowboys. And in reality, if you think about it, this is actually the most convincing win the Cowboys have had in this whole stint with Cooper Rush. That's the most convincing win. That was a very convincing win. Cooper Rush broke his own limitations. 3 touchdowns in the game by Cooper Rush. 3 touchdowns. He's normally only good for 2. Matter of fact, last night, he only got 1. He only got 1 last night. I'll give him credit. He got us down to the red zone. Zeke punched it in. But you realize what we scored with Cooper Rush? The typical 2 touchdowns with Cooper Rush. That's what we've been averaging with Cooper Rush. I know some people don't like it, but I'm telling you, it's the Cooper Rush formula. I don't care how you slice it. Just because they stopped one part of it. And when you think about the Cooper Rush formula, the run game wasn't even a part of the Cooper Rush formula in the original part of the formula. In the beginning of part of the equation, Mike McCarthy was not running the ball. But what you see in all of these wins, every time the Cowboys win with Cooper Rush, you will notice what typically happens. This is the formula. Defense plays out of its mind, makes spectacular plays, get some takeaways, and save us from the 2 touchdowns that we're going to get with Cooper Rush. That's what has happened in almost every one of these wins. You can slap the name of the team on there, whatever you want to, but there's going to be 2 touchdowns, 3 to 4 field goals, some phenomenal plays by the defense, and throw in a couple of plays by even the special teams from time to time, and that's how we're winning these games, by hook or crook, and we don't even want to admit it. We're not lining up in front of teams and dominantly beating them down. We're not lining up in front of teams doing that. And I don't mind winning super ugly. I don't mind winning super ugly. But what I'm saying is we have to be careful as it applies to Mike McCarthy. I love what I'm seeing from some of the players on this team. I love what I'm seeing from the Brock Hoffmans, the Leo Faus. I love what I'm seeing with the toughness in CeeDee Lamb. I love what I'm seeing in Rico Dowdle. I love the fact that Cooper Rush has come in and been exactly what he's supposed to be, a backup quarterback. I love what some of the stuff we're getting from the offensive line. We still need work, but we see that, we do have some pieces. I'm loving what we're seeing now on the defensive line. I think some of them, like Ozzie, has played themselves out the Dallas Cowboys squad. Glad Deron Bland is back. Loving some of the things that we're seeing. Mike Zimmer, absolutely loving what I'm seeing from Mike Zimmer. He's the real hero of these last 6 games. Zimmer, to me, is the hero of what he's done. People keep saying it's about Micah. No, it's not about Micah Parsons. It's about the fact that no matter what injury this team has had, Mike Zimmer has come in every single week. He's gotten better and better. The defensive performances have gotten better and better. And even if they're giving up, quote unquote, 20 points, 24 points, when you think about what he has played with and what he is playing with, man, Mike Zimmer is performing magic with this Dallas Cowboy team. It is absolutely magic what this man is doing. Zimmer is the real MVP. Zimmer is the coach that everybody ought to be talking about. If there's anybody we're going to bring back, it's Mike Zimmer. But Mike McCarthy, more of the same. More and more of the same. Everything we've seen this season, it's just been, look at this team. Look at this team. 33-17. We're talking starters. This is the first game. Saints, 44-19. Starters. Ravens, 28-25. They blew us out in the first half. Starters. The New York Giants game. This is when we started seeing some injuries. But even that game got late into the game, 2015. Cowboys against the Steelers, which I thought was the better game that they had played the season. 2017, beat a good team. Destroyed by the Lions. We had some injuries, but it wasn't just total annihilation like we got towards midseason. But the Lions, 47-9, 24-30. 26. I mean, when you look at this in totality with Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush, because this is actually the soft part of the schedule. They knew they were going to win games during this part of the schedule. Still hasn't looked right. Still hasn't looked right. Still hasn't looked good. Every one of these wins, Commanders, 2 touchdowns. Giants, 2 touchdowns. Bengals, 2 touchdowns we lost. Panthers, we went a little bit further and we got 3. Buccaneers, we're back to 2 touchdowns. And I'm interested to see what are we going to do with the Eagles. And I'm wondering if Dan Quinn is going to have some pride and say, I don't care if we're going to the playoffs or not. I want to beat the Cowboys. We're going to see. I think the Commanders team that we're going to see the last game, if Dan Quinn chooses to win, I think they're going to look different. But I think he's going to have a hard time motivating them also because they've already sewn up that last wild card spot. So this is going to be a true test for Dan Quinn in his last 2 games. Can he get his team motivated? Can he get his team motivated? This is the first year that Dan Quinn has been with the Washington Commanders. And Dan Quinn, I got to give it to him. Dan Quinn has done a bang-up job. Dan Quinn has done a bang-up job. I got to give it to him. I mean, you come on with a rookie quarterback, and in your first season, and with the team that you built, and some of that team has been built with Cowboys players, Dan Quinn has that team at 10 wins. Dan Quinn has that team at 10 wins with the potential to have them at 12 wins. All depends on how Dan Quinn wants to finish the season. Falcons are going to be a tough out. Falcons got some good players, some good to actually potentially great players. Matter of fact, they got some studs on that team. I don't want to downplay it. Michael Penix Jr., I mean, we got to be careful with Michael Penix Jr. Same thing I'm talking about with Cooper Rush. Michael Penix Jr. is a rookie. And they have already heaped on him even. Hey, we want you to come out and win the last 2 games. Okay, let's slow down a little bit. Let's slow down a little bit. He's a rookie. He's been sitting on the bench. He's getting ready to play the Commanders. Dan Quinn is going to have something for him. I mean, these experienced coaches, they know how to frustrate rookie quarterbacks. Dan Quinn's going to have something for him. So sometimes our expectations, there's a saying, expectations are the robbers of joy. Expectations are the robbers of joy. And this team this year, and I really don't even know if we had expectations, because we clearly knew that Jerry didn't give this team what they needed. It had no depth. Hardly any veteran presence, no depth. And I think this season is an epitome of all the things that Jerry and all of the decisions that he made. But what I'm saying is, everything we're seeing from this team, what is happening in the last 5 to 6 games? What is really happening that we haven't seen before? What are we talking about? We have literally watched this team win 12 games per season. 3 seasons in a row. What are we seeing right now that we haven't seen? I don't understand how we're prisoners of the moment. Cooper Rush came in what? 2022? Cooper Rush came in 2022. He went 4-1. 2022, they went 4-1. And when you look back at the games, when you look back at the games that Cooper Rush played, because this was the infamous season where everybody lost their minds, I'm blown away at us how we're even responding to the Cooper Rush stuff, because it was no different than what it is now. Dak Prescott hurt his hand September 11, 2022. They lost the game 19-3 to the very team, the Buccaneers. Cowboys came out and beat the Bengals. 2017. Cooper Rush had a fourth quarter drive that got them down to get the field goal. They won the game. The Cooper Rush stuff started. Look at this. Cowboys against New York Giants. Cooper Rush, 2 touchdowns, 23-16. They beat the Commanders, 25-10. I don't even think that game was 2 touchdowns, may have been, but there were a ton of field goals. They got to the Rams. Bunch of turnovers in this game. The Rams literally shot themselves in the foot. But I want you to look at all these games. These are the Cooper Rush games. Look how they look. These were the 4 wins. They were against a Bengals team that was struggling at the time, and then they turned it on after this game. The Giants were trash. The Commanders were trash. The Rams shot themselves in the foot. And then they met the Eagles. Now, I'm just showing you all of this because, one, what we're seeing with Cooper Rush is nothing different than we've seen before. This is all the stuff. This is the typical Cooper Rush. The Eagles exposed him the same way they did this year when they played him. They exposed him. Now, for you folk who say that this team is better with Cooper Rush than it is with Dak Prescott, I'm taking you back to 2022 because this was the magical unicorn. This is what started all this crazy talk with Cooper Rush. Because Cooper Rush won 4 games in a row. He's the first rookie quarterback to go 5-1 in his first 6 starts, or 5-1 or 4-1, whatever they were talking about, this crazy stuff. Everybody said the Cowboys were better with Cooper Rush. And they're saying the same stupid stuff now. Dak Prescott broke thumb, I think it was, came back too early, but I digress. This is the Cooper Rush game. He throws 3 interceptions. 26-17. Dak Prescott steps back under the helm. And I'm going to show you again, even this season, the stats are showing that this is nothing but a lie. When people say this team plays better with Cooper Rush, it's a lie. It's a pure, unadulterated lie. The stats, nor the scores, nor the wins prove your theory. They don't. You know how I know? Because Dak Prescott stepped back under the helm against the Lions in October 23rd, 2022. You want to know how many points they scored? They scored 24 points. 24 points the first game. 49 points the second game. 28 points. 40 points against the Vikings. Tell me a 40-point game. Came back, 28 points. 54 points against the Colts. 27 points. 34 points. 40 points, 27. Tell me when. Tell me when this team under Cooper Rush has actually ever looked this good. This good. This was the 2022 season. When's Cooper Rush with this team ever looked this good? Name me the time. This is 2022. Name me the time. This was the signature game by Dak Prescott. I still don't understand how him and I don't understand how the Cowboys just totally dismantled the Buccaneers with Tom Brady. And then they went into the 49ers game and the game plan looked totally silly. But again, tell me when the Cowboys have ever looked like this with Cooper Rush. When? Tell me when. This was the 2023 season. And I'm saying all of this because I'm still relating it back to Mike McCarthy. What have we seen? What are we seeing right now that actually looks any different than what we've seen before with Cooper Rush, with Mike McCarthy, with this team? What have we seen that looks different? Dak Prescott came back in 2023. This team looks better with Cooper Rush. This team put up 40 points against the New York Giants, 2023. 30 points against the New York Jets. Lost to the Cardinals. 38 points. Tell me when they've ever looked like this. Consistently. Now, we got a snapshot. We got a snapshot, 7 games. When has the Cowboys looked like this? 38 points. 43 points. 49 points. 33 points. 45 points. 41 points. 33 points. Tell me when they've ever looked like this. They've never looked like this with Cooper Rush. Never. Because Cooper Rush is not capable of those type of performances. He's not. He's not. Dak has had those performances when the defense has actually played bad. Yes. That's what folk don't understand. In a lot of those wins, Dak actually carried the defense. He carried them. And it's not because they were not playing as good for Dak Prescott. No, the competition was better. The competition was better. And because the competition was better, they couldn't hold those teams down. Do we not realize that even with the magician job that Zimmer has been doing, this team has still been giving up points? You want to know why the games have been a lot closer? Because we were not able to score the points. And what happened in 2024? I'm saying all of this again. 2024. This is why I'm talking about this. Because we didn't look right after this Cleveland Browns game. We didn't look right. And the reason why we didn't look right, one, is because Mike McCarthy went away from the Texas coast of 2023. He went away from the Texas coast that got Dak Prescott that MVP type season. And he should have won it. There was no statistics. It's a regular season award. There is nothing that where he shouldn't have got it. But he did. He didn't get it. But we didn't look right after the Browns. We didn't look right. Everywhere we didn't look right. Part of it is because of all the youth we were using. We didn't look right. And some of those injuries, we don't understand this part, but I'm going to put you up on game again. When you decide to play all that youth against teams with grown men, with grown men, you're going to suffer some injuries. There's a reason why the best college team couldn't beat the worst NFL football team, because you're talking about boys playing against grown men. And if you play boys against grown men, somebody getting broke up. There's going to be some injuries somewhere. I'm telling you, somebody getting broke up. You're not supposed to play a team with mostly all young guys. You have to have some veteran depth. We let all of that go in the offseason. We let all that go. All of it. We haven't looked right the whole season. Whether it be by Jerry Jones, combination of Mike McCarthy, we haven't looked right all season. 33 looked like us in 2023. We only went on to only score 19, 25, 20, 20, 9, 24, 21. Dak Prescott is out by this game with the Falcons. We score 21. Then we get to this Cooper Rush thing. And we get right back to where we were in 2022 when Cooper Rush took over the first time. Only this time, he's not having as much success. Because, again, every time he runs up against a really good team, it's hard for him to overcome his 2-touchdown limit. Because unless the defense plays out of its mind and either gets some amazing takeaways or the special teams does something amazing and get a touchdown, unless everybody around him is playing out of their minds, like in the Carolina Panthers game, which in reality is the best game. This is what we're getting with Cooper Rush. And so, no hate on Cooper Rush. Bravo, Cooper Rush. You've done exactly what you're supposed to do. You've came in, you went 4-3. You've actually went one game better than 500. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But at the end of the day, Cooper Rush is a backup. But I'm saying all of this because I want to relate it to Mike McCarthy. We're talking about keeping Mike McCarthy. But we're not actually seeing anything we haven't seen before. And for all you folk who are saying stuff like, the team hasn't quit on Mike McCarthy. Do we not understand this is professional football? Do we not realize that a lot of these players on this team, they don't have a contract going forward? Some of these players are actually in contract seasons. Y'all better be careful believing people when they're saying this team is playing for Mike McCarthy. Y'all better be careful with that narrative. Because I'm going to tell you up front, I don't believe that narrative. I don't believe that narrative. I believe that maybe Micah Parsons could be playing. Micah Parsons could be playing for Mike McCarthy. But I don't even think he's playing for Mike McCarthy. I think Micah Parsons is playing for himself. Dak Prescott's not playing, but I think he would probably be trying to play for Mike McCarthy. He came out and spoke up for him. I heard the remarks that CeeDee Lamb made about Mike McCarthy, but I didn't really take that as CeeDee Lamb speaking up for Mike McCarthy. But people are saying this team is playing for Mike McCarthy, but the reality is this team, a lot of these players, they have no more security than Mike McCarthy has because Mike McCarthy hasn't even got a contract. And a lot of them don't even have a contract. And I got news for us. Some of these players that we're liking and we're looking at, they're going to be somewhere else next year. So you know what I've come to the conclusion of, and I think it's absolutely true. Two things can be true. There may be some part of them where they're saying they're playing for Mike McCarthy, but I promise you, Jordan Lewis is not just playing for Mike McCarthy. No, Jordan Lewis is an absolute monster. Jordan Lewis was actually playing good before all this talk. Oh, and by the way, Jordan Lewis is in a contract season. Jordan Lewis might not even be on this team next year. Jordan Lewis may have played himself out of a contract. Jordan Lewis may have played himself out of a contract with the Cowboys. Without going through and looking at all of the slot cornerbacks in the league, just based on what I've seen and what I've heard other people saying, top 5 without looking may be a little extreme, but I bet you this, there are a lot of people that'll tell you Jordan Lewis is probably a top 10 to top 15 slot corner in this league. He's going to get paid. Y'all don't understand what Jerry Jones did. Jerry Jones did a lot of this stuff on purpose. And some of it backfired. But Jerry wanted to put this team in an urgent state of everybody won't have contracts. Everybody needs to be playing for contracts. Everybody needs to be playing for their jobs, including the coaching staff, because none of them have contracts going forward. They're all, from what my understanding is, the entire coaching staff, they're on the last year of their deals. Mike Zimmer's on a 1-year deal. A lot of the players were already on the last year of their deals. D-Law, even if he didn't get hurt, D-Law knew he wasn't coming back next year. Zach Martin, even if he didn't get hurt, he already knew. That's why he held out to get more money, because he knew what they were going to do. He knew he wasn't coming back. There's a lot of these people know they're not coming back. You better believe Rico Dowdle is playing for a contract not with the Cowboys, but whoever wants him. Cavonte Turpin, he's playing for a contract for the Cowboys. Brandon Aubrey, y'all better get ready. Brandon Aubrey is not hitting that field next year. Brandon Aubrey is not hitting that field next year on the measly contract the Cowboys have him on. He's not doing it. He's not doing it. So for people to say this team, they haven't quit on Mike McCarthy, do we realize the reality of the situation is that they are in a situation that they bet not dare quit on Mike McCarthy, because it's not about the Dallas Cowboys. Some of these players are looking for jobs on other teams. Y'all better learn to stop buying into narratives. I don't buy into narratives. I'm looking at everything that's happening around this team. Jerry tried to create a situation like this because he wanted this team to play so hard that they would show him something different. But it backfired because of the injuries. What do you think you're going to get? What do you think you're going to get? You had no depth on the team. With the exception of the guys with contracts like the D-Laws and the Michaels and the Diggs, the Blands. Beyond them, it's all young guys from there. It's all young guys. So when you think about, even the line, it's all young guys. Once you got past Zach Martin, it's all young guys. All young guys. That's all we got on this team, man. It's young guys. So what you think was going to happen? You got rid of all the veteran presence. And these young guys who hadn't been playing, they started getting injured. And so it's funny to me when we're saying stuff like, well, they're not quitting on Mike McCarthy. He hadn't lost the locker room. Have y'all not realized that some of these players out here are saying, hey, man, I don't know all this other stuff that's going on. It's good. Yeah, I like Mike McCarthy. All this stuff is cool. But one, I'm a professional. I'm a professional football player. See, some of us look at these guys and think they're us. Couldn't be me. That's right, it couldn't be you. That's why you're not a professional football player. They're professionals. They're supposed to play hard. They are. And especially when you've been put in a situation to where you don't have a contract the next season, or this is finally going to be your first big contract. Why don't you not play hard? Why don't you not? I'm just telling us a lot of this stuff that we're saying and we're watching and the conclusions that we're making, it's fool's gold. We're not seeing anything any different, actually, than we've already seen before. None of it. Even the Cooper Rush stuff. I don't even understand the Cooper Rush phenomenon. He's a backup. He's doing backup things. You actually think there's backups in this league who can't make even, because I'm telling you, if you're telling me watching Baker Mayfield and Cooper Rush, if you're telling me when you saw those two quarterbacks on the field last night and you didn't see a difference in those two players, I'm going to tell you right now, you told me everything you need to know. Baker Mayfield looked different than Cooper Rush. I'm not talking about a little bit different. Baker Mayfield looked a whole lot different. The zip on the ball alone, the zip on the ball, the velocity, the places he's throwing the ball, he looked different than Cooper Rush. He looked different. He's not playing that easy West Coast stuff. No, that's not what he's playing. That's not what he's playing. He looked different. He looked like a starting quarterback. Cooper Rush looked like a good backup. He looked different. We got to stop getting caught up in the moment. What we're seeing is nothing different than what we've seen before. This is the same old stuff with this team. And it just gets under my skin how we're just losing our minds over wins. And I'm going to tell you this part. Man, do y'all not understand that pressure busts a pipe? Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp both said the same exact thing I said. Cowboys were playing with house money last night. When you don't have expectations, you play a lot more loose. I said it last night. You play a lot more loose, man. You play a lot more loose when there's nothing to play for. You play a lot more loose when you're playing spoiler than you play when you're playing for the playoffs. How do you think you would play? Let's just say this is the new playoff system. We're going to have winners and spoilers. In one bracket, you have to win as many games as you can, and you get to the championship on this side. But then we're going to have another bracket. We're going to call it the spoiler bracket. Which one of these teams, they don't have to win, quote unquote, as in more games than the winning teams. They just have to spoil more games than the teams in their bracket. How many of these teams can play spoiler to these teams? How many of them can do it? Whoever can be the most spoiler, then they get to be on this side of the bracket. I promise you, the spoilers are going to play a whole lot different, a whole lot dirtier. I mean, what's really at stake? You ever notice how teams, year after year after year, when the expectations were high, they didn't win games? You ever notice that? They didn't win games when the expectations were high. But then the moment they're no longer in it, you ever notice what they do? Oh, we got an opportunity now to play spoiler because we don't want that team in our division to go to the playoffs. And we don't want that team to go to the playoffs. And we don't want that team to get the number one seed. Anybody ever notice how hard those teams play? How insane of a mentality is that? I'm even looking at the other mentality of this team. So we're saying that we're creating a mentality that when it's for Mike McCarthy's job, because it's for nothing else. It's for nothing else. Because this has been the theme of this whole little run, especially after the Bengals game. They're playing for Mike McCarthy. So this is the mentality we're building in this team? So you're telling me they're playing harder for the coach than they're playing for championships? Where was all this energy in the Green Bay game? Because I didn't see none of it from that defense. None of it. I hadn't seen none of it in the 3 seasons. When they get to those games, I don't see that same energy. It's been a very inconsistent energy with this team under Mike McCarthy. And it's not just the quarterback. When you think about those 12-win seasons, it's not just the playoffs, and that's the fool's gold too. It's not just the playoffs we fail in. We also fail when there were opportunities to win certain games that could have gotten us the number 1 seed. And we failed in those games. Why? And you can go back and look at those games, and the quarterback had great performances. You can go back and look at those games. There'll be penalties. There'll be mental breakdowns on the field. There'll be just terrible defensive plays given up. Quarterback played great. Quarterback played great last year in the Miami game. He didn't give up the ghost. Quarterback played great. Philadelphia game, I think it was. He didn't give up the ghost. We've seen this with this team. And I'm just saying all this stuff with Mike McCarthy. It's insane to me. I mean, if we want more of the same, and we want to keep walking around saying, well, at least we won 12 games. Okay. I just wonder if Dak Prescott is really thinking this through. I don't want a coach who says being competitive year after year is enough. I don't. You know what kind of coach I want? I want a coach that says Super Bowl or bust. But it's hard to get a coach that says Super Bowl or bust when the GM/owner isn't saying Super Bowl or bust. It's hard to get a coach that says Super Bowl or bust when he is emasculated by the GM/owner. It's hard to get a coach that says Super Bowl or bust when he's a bona fide yes man. He's a bona fide yes man. And I don't get all the talk about him coming back. I'm glad that Jerry is doing something that he's doing. Jerry Jones has not committed. He's talking a good game, and this is strange to me how he's talking a real good game as it applies to Mike McCarthy, but he continues to reserve the right not to bring back Mike McCarthy. He's reserving that right to do that. And I hope he continues to think about it, because people keep saying there's no coaches out there. There are coaches out there. There are coaches out there if Jerry is willing to change his ways. If Jerry is willing to change his ways. If Jerry will finally say Super Bowl or bust, and it's not a slogan, it's a mindset. Super Bowl or bust is a mindset. That's not a slogan. Saying we're going to make a run with Cooper Rush, that was a slogan. No, Super Bowl or bust is a mindset. Because Super Bowl says, hold on a second, then what do I need to do to win the Super Bowl? That begins to be my mindset. If I want to win the Super Bowl, what must I do? Okay, I'm the GM. Okay, let me start doing GM things. Let me start managing the salary cap correctly. Let me sign my star players early. Dallas, sign Micah Parsons now if you're going to sign him. None of this talking and stupid stuff. You're signing him, go ahead and sign him. No point in waiting. Go ahead and sign him. Soon as the season concludes, everybody who you're signing, go ahead and sign them. Stop all this stupid stuff. Stop putting your team in unnecessary drama modes. Sign your team. Sign your players. Be done with it. And go ahead and get ready to go into training camp with your players. Stop this stupid stuff. Number two, you bring in a coach and you say, hey, man, I'm going to empower you. You're doing the football stuff. You're doing the football stuff. We're going to put all of our trust in you. The same way the Philadelphia Eagles put their trust in one Howie Roseman. Because this is what good teams do. This is what good owners do. See, I keep telling us that Super Bowl mentality does not start with the quarterback. It does not start with the coach. It must start with the ownership. It must start with the owners. It trickles down to the GM. And then it trickles down to the coach. And then the coach gets to go out there and he builds the culture. He builds the mentality. He builds the accountability for the team. I don't know how young or old y'all are, but I'm talking about this not because I'm giving you my opinion. I'm talking about this because I know what the heck I'm talking about. Because I saw the Cowboys do this in 4K. When Jerry Jones bought this team, Jerry Jones was not the same Jerry Jones he is now. Jerry Jones brought in a football person. He brought in Jimmy Johnson. Jerry Jones handled the money. Jerry Jones was a part of the trades. He was signing the checks. But the buck stopped with the team and the football stuff. And he trusted Jimmy to do all the football stuff. That's Super Bowl or bust. Because Jimmy Johnson, when he came here in the 90s, do you know what his intentions was the day he hit the door? Super Bowl. Nothing else. Jimmy wasn't talking about, yeah, man, we're going to be consistent and we're going to be in the playoffs year after year after year. We're going to be contenders and we're going to be blah, blah, blah. Nope. No, Super Bowl or bust. We're going to the Super Bowl. From the get-go, that was the attitude. We're going to the Super Bowl. Jerry, get me the players. I'm going to tell you the players to get me the players. Oh, yeah, by the way, make this Herschel Walker trade. Everybody wants Herschel Walker? Trade him. See, the Jimmy Johnson y'all looking at now is not the Jimmy Johnson that came to the Cowboys in the 90s. Because the Jimmy Johnson that came to the Cowboys in the 90s, he was different. Nobody would have been safe. Nobody would have been safe. Nobody. Jimmy would have got who he wanted because the goal for Jimmy was Super Bowls. It wasn't playoffs. It wasn't. And this is not about Mike McCarthy only with the Cowboys. Go back and look at his record with the Green Bay Packers. He amassed a lot of wins. A lot of wins. He won one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. No, we're not talking about Dak Prescott. He won one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? In his prime? What? There are many people who say, had Aaron Rodgers played for Bill Belichick, they'd have had the same results. I don't know about the same results. But I bet you Bill Belichick gets more than one Super Bowl out of Aaron Rodgers. I bet you he gets more than one Super Bowl out of Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand all the Mike McCarthy talk. I don't. Mike McCarthy's mentality, it took for him to get on the hot seat. Is he motivating the team? Or is it, as some keep saying, if he's the motivation, so is he the one that's got him motivated? Or is their motivation them not wanting him gone? Because if somebody don't want you gone, are you really motivating them? You may be the motivation because they may be comfortable with your system. They may be comfortable they don't want the change. They may like the lackadaisical atmosphere that you've created. They may like all this laid back stuff that you've created. And so I'm going to tell you something about people when it comes to change. A person who, as a preacher, has been around, and I haven't been around a lot, but when you go to different congregations and you watch how people struggle when you start bringing change, when you start trying to help people to do things the right way, and how people will kick against the pricks. Anybody who understands the Bible, there's a reason why they fought Jesus so hard. They chose Barabbas over Jesus. I'm not going to preach a sermon to you, but I'm telling you there's some principles in here when it comes to change. The Bible said they chose Barabbas because they hated the truth. They chose a murderer over someone who brought life. Someone who healed the sick, someone who fed the hungry. People were watching everything he did from miles around. His reputation was impeccable. But when it came down to it, they chose a murderer. You know why? They hated the truth. You know why they hated truth? Because truth brings change. Truth brings change. Now I have to be uncomfortable because everything I've been doing, it's not quite right. I got to do it different. I got to do something different. I got to make a change. I got to be better. I got to be better than I've ever been. People don't like that kind of change. People look for excuses to fail. People say things like, oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's him. Oh, it's that. No. Mm-mm. When it comes to winning, sometimes you have to take what you like out of the equation. See, people don't understand the sacrifices that champions make. Champions, first one in, last one out. Champions, always studying the game. Champions, always practicing. Champions, always hard on people. Champions, the mentality is different. Some people, they're satisfied with winning. I mean, I'm laughing. We have a 7-8 season and we're acting like we're acting like it's another 12-win season. No. I'm worried about the mentality of this team. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it because also Mike McCarthy has become a part of the problem with this team. We don't realize it. We don't realize it. Even as a fan base. This is why so many people, they see, I'm a different kind of content creator. I'm not sweating it. I listen to these other guys and I like a lot of them. But I don't follow narratives. I'm looking at the facts. And when you start digging into facts, this is why some people don't understand why lawyers are so important. Because while everyone else has a perspective on this person's a murderer, this person's a killer, this person's a murderer, this person's a thief, this person is that, the lawyer digs in and says, oh, hold on a second. Can I see the forensics? Y'all know how many people are in prison because of the narrative? Oh, you were here at this time. You must have did it. Can I see the forensics? I need to do a few interviews. I need to go interview some other people. Until we get the forensics back, let me get the story from the accuser, my client. Let me go do some interviews of witnesses and people who can either corroborate their story or corroborate my client's story. This is why some folks, they couldn't be lawyers. See, a defense attorney, he's one of the most hated ones in the world. Because when the world is screaming someone is guilty, that defense attorney comes in and says, hold on a second. I got some evidence that's going to bring reasonable doubt. And you will notice with the good lawyers, they not only get off bad clients, God forbid, but they also get off clients who were determined as guilty because of the evidence. You have to look at the evidence. And everything with this team, I'm not going to be a prisoner of this garbage we're watching. We won a meaningless game at the end of the day. It's not meaningless to us as fans because we were tired of losing. It's amazing when we were losing. Boycott Jerry Jones. Fire Mike McCarthy. Oh, we were going crazy with all the talk. Then we start winning some games. I ain't heard nobody hardly talking about Jerry Jones. Now I actually see people say it's not Jerry Jones' fault. Oh, bring back Mike McCarthy. We've done a whole 180 on this situation, and all behind winning meaningless games. Let me tell y'all something. You might not realize it. The Cincinnati Bengal debacle was the difference between playing for something and playing for nothing. Y'all might not realize it. That's the difference. Do you not realize how tight the Cowboys were playing in the Cincinnati Bengals game? Micah Parsons in the Cincinnati Bengals game registered zeros across the box score. Zeros. It was so tight. Down the stretch, Cooper Rush narrowly completed a pass. Troy Aikman even said it. On one of those bootlegs he rolled out on, there was nobody there to even tackle him. He could have planted his feet, took the time, threw the ball, made the completion. But he hurriedly threw the ball as if there was pressure, and there was no pressure. You know why? Because pressure busts a pipe. We're playing for something. We're playing for something, guys. And when I'm playing for something, I'm a lot more uptight. Especially if I'm not a champion. Especially if I'm not a doggone lion. If I'm not a champion or a lion, man, I'm tight. If I know I'm good, if I know I'm great, if I know I'm better than you, man, I'm playing a lot different. You notice how tight it was with the Cincinnati game? Then we win the Panther game. We're not mathematically eliminated. And the hopes are if the Washington Commanders lose, we're still in it. Do we not realize they got notification before the game? The Washington Commanders lost. I'm telling you about human nature. Do we not understand even in our own lives? And you find out that there was something that you may have been playing for or something you were going for, and then you find out, well, now there's no way I can win it, but I still have to do it. Have you ever realized how different your mentality becomes? You say things like, well, might as well have fun. Oh, well, there's nothing on the line now. I mean, I can just go out here and do, there's nothing on the line now, man. We just go out here and leave it all on the field because it don't matter what the result is. We're not going to the playoffs anyway, so we just go out here and lay it on the line. It's a different mentality. It's a different mentality. I promise you, ask anybody who has ever won championships. It's different when you're playing for nothing and when all the marbles are on the line. Those are two different mentalities. I'm playing the game different. I'm calling the game different. I'm doing a whole lot of things different. That's mentality. Now you get lucky. You get lucky sometimes, and every so often. You get that player like a Michael Jordan. He don't care what the occasion is. Kobe Bryant, he don't care what the occasion is. I don't care what this is. I'm coming to win today. You get those players, but that's not everybody. We're talking about the majority. And them hearing that the Commanders won the game, the playoffs are done, the mentality changes. Some of us don't understand. Playing for pride and playing for championships are two different things. I'm not trying to play for pride. Get that stuff out of my face. I'll throw your consolation trophy in the trash. Don't give me the consolation trophy. I don't want the consolation trophy. No, I'm in it to win it. Don't even call me if you're not trying to win. Don't even call me. And this is why this is bothering me about Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy has proven that he can win. He's already proven he can win games. He did that before he got to the Cowboys. But the issue with us is how long do we give Mike McCarthy to get that Super Bowl like he got for Green Bay? Now, I do say if the Cowboys keep Mike McCarthy, I think they might need to consider bringing in an offensive coordinator. And I mean somebody that's really good, one of these young guys that can really come in and be innovative. Because Mike McCarthy right now is as stale as crackers. Nobody wants to admit it, but I'm admitting it. He is as stale as crackers with that doggone West Coast offense. Now, I'm going to play for y'all right now. I'm going to play for you what Bobby Belt said this morning. Because Bobby Belt is sharing some of the same concerns in a sense, or saying some similar things to what I said last night. I want you to hear what Bobby Belt says about Mike McCarthy, because Bobby Belt isn't necessarily sold on Mike McCarthy coming back either. I want you to listen to this.
They wouldn't give it up out there, so I'm real proud of them. And Mike McCarthy, he just won't let them not think they're playing for the Super Bowl out there. He won't let them do it. So proud of that. Proud of the coach.
Do what? Let that sink in. I got to play this again. This is the delusional talk of this owner. And this is the scary. If you're buying this garbage, I don't know what else to say. This is the craziest statement. Listen again.
They wouldn't give it up out there, so I'm real proud of them. And Mike McCarthy, he just won't let them not think they're playing for the Super Bowl out there. He won't let them do it. So proud of that. Proud of the coach. Thanks, guys. It's good. Well, Merry Christmas.
Okay. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that's hearing this ludicrous statement. He won't let them stop playing like they're playing for the Super Bowl. If you're hyped up about that statement right there, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else to tell you. What up, Troy Jameson? What's going on, CL? Michael H. CB4L. Dank. I saw you in there too, Roberta. Kitty Boy, what's going on? Kitty Boy, appreciate that super chat. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Jeffrey Wynn, what's going on? I'm going to get to some of your comments here in a moment. Dak Delusional, what's going on? Troy Simmons, what's going on? CB. Lost in Translation, what's going on, my man? Wicked, what's going on? Yes, sir. Hit that like button. I'm going to go through some of these in a moment. I want you to hear this thing with Bobby Belt. It's absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I don't know what else to tell y'all. But if you don't think that statement right there is insanity, if you don't think that statement is insanity, I don't know what else to tell you. Jameson says, okay, hold on a second. Jameson said, oh, okay, I'll be getting my sister's kidney January the 6th. Oh, man. God be the glory, man. God be the glory. She called me when I was at dialysis today. And I'll probably be in pretty serious pain. Man, I tell you what, you'll be in serious pain. But, man, that is a blessing, man. Because obviously you needed that kidney. Hey, man, prayers go out to you, Jameson Taylor. I'm going to put you in my prayers tonight. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to your sister, too. Man, that's a great sacrifice for somebody to do something like that for you, man. That is absolutely awesome, my brother. Hey, man, appreciate you letting us know that. Now, you got me in my feelings now, because now I got to make a transition to get back to the show. But nevertheless, my brother, I am not taking that in any less. I appreciate the information, man. Like I said, God bless you. Now, when you think about the statement that Jerry just made, that's a delusional statement to me. It's crazy talk. Super Bowl? So he couldn't do this last year against Green Bay? Super Bowl? This is crazy talk. Listen to Bobby Bell.
Christmas, too. Everyone a
Merry Christmas, Jerry.
Dude, he came out, tried to do that. He tried to give us a one statement and bail. Which, what does that mean? That's not like Jerry typically. We stopped him. We got a couple more questions with him, but he tried to just give that as his only statement and then went, thanks, guys, and tried to walk.
You could drag him back in quite easy.
Right, but he never does that. He usually comes out with an opening statement and then stands there and takes questions. We had to stop him. And it's like, what does that mean?
Maybe to go to the bathroom.
I don't think that's what it was. It's more, did he not want to tip his hand that he loves what McCarthy's doing and he's keeping him? Or did he not want to tip his hand that, man, after a game like that, we're not bringing him back? It just seemed like he wanted to minimize. He didn't want to, he wanted to play a little more close to the vest. He didn't want to say whatever he wanted to say.
I don't know what it was, but he has said, a few times this year how, about how he likes.
Jellyfish is permanent lighting so good.
Now, I want you to hear and understand Bobby Belt, man. Bobby Belt is about to drop some nuggets in this thing.
How they're fighting, competing, all that crap. So, he has said that several times this year. I'm starting to think that he's coming back. I'm way above 50% now.
Way above? What are you putting it at right now?
60, 65.
Man, that's
Maybe
that's
85.
depressing.
I don't know.
Y'all hear Bobby Belt? Bobby Belt is saying the same thing I'm saying. What are we seeing different? What are we seeing? We're not seeing anything different. We're not. It's crazy talk. It's more of the same. I mean, I'm saying if we want more of the same, that's fine. Michael H., he can admit he's a Mike McCarthy not liker or don't like her any way he wants to. Doesn't make the thing not be true. What are we seeing that we haven't seen before? What are we seeing?
Everybody on Twitter last night seemed to think it was 100.
Yeah, that's how everybody's talking. I'm not there yet. In fact, I think last night proves McCarthy knows he's not coming back. He knows that as of right now, he's not coming back.
Now, you think this? Now, why don't you explain this?
Okay, so last night's offense, I think when we go back and look at the tape today, that offense is going to look so wildly different from the way that McCarthy has typically run things that it was noticeable how just different I think everything was with him. Last night, let's just look at right out of the gate. I felt like this was a game where they were going to run the ball a lot, that they were going to be able to lean into the run and have a lot of success with that. And I was certain that was going to be the approach in this one. And then they come out and they throw the ball 3 times pretty quick, where it was just, okay, here we are, get the ball out, 1, 2, 3, ball, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ball. It was all very timing based, very heavy West Coast concepts of get into your drop and get the ball out. And it was noticeable within the first 3 plays. I was like, okay, that's odd. Then I'm watching them run these really tight, condensed formations that they had not run all year. They've had the widest formation set in the NFL all year. That Detroit, San Francisco, the Rams, like those are teams that run the tightest formations in the NFL. Dallas has consistently been the widest spread formation in the NFL this year. Last night, they were playing much tighter. They were playing condensed formations much more frequently. It was about 30% of the time they were playing a condensed formation. And they've only done that typically on the season. It's been a little under 20% of the time. So they were doing it a lot more yesterday. They had run 6 receiver or 4+ receiver sets, which were a staple of McCarthy when he first got to Green Bay, where he would run 4 or 5 receiver sets. They ran 4+ receiver sets 6 times yesterday. Heading into the season or heading into this game, they'd run them 25 times all year.
Were those 6 in the second half when CD was kind of
It was
in and out of the game?
No, it was split. It was first and second
I
half.
was thinking like maybe they ran him more when he was out because they
actually ran it a lot less in the fourth.
Okay.
But the first 3 quarters, they kind of split it up. But, I mean, that's 6 times. They had run it just 25. Heading into this game, it was about 2.5% of the time they ran it. There was a point yesterday where they'd run 15% of their plays from 4+ receiver sets. And then this is another tell right here. Heading into this game yesterday, Chop, Cooper Rush had thrown
the click stick.
Now, Bobby is drop. I'm gonna let Bobby finish, and I'm gonna come back and tell you. Bobby is dropping some dimes here. Just listen to him.
roughly 4% of his throws were slants, and roughly 11% of his throws were throws to the flats. Yesterday, 17% of his throws were to the flat. 11% of his throws were slants. Slant flats are a staple of McCarthy's offense from Green Bay that we have not really seen much here in Dallas. Even when he got his offense back, he has not run a ton of those. Angle routes, which are just the up, and it's basically what it sounds like. It's an angle route that you take. They had run 4% of those this year with Cooper Rush. He threw 12% of his passes yesterday on angle routes. So angles, slant flat combos, tighter formations, get the ball out quickly, doing different things like I'm going to line up Kevontae Turpin in the backfield, and then I'm going to run him inside. I'm not pitching it outside. I'm running it inside with Kevontae Turpin, which is something he did with Ty Montgomery in Green Bay. And I look at it and I just start going.
Montgomery.
For North Texas guy, Ty Montgomery, who went to Stanford. I look at that, all these different aspects of it, and it's like, what does McCarthy do? This to me looked like, and it looked really obvious early on that, okay, this is different. This is different than what they've run this year. And so now I'm starting to ask myself, when you go out there and the playoffs are out now, you're done. You've been eliminated. When you go out there and run the offense looking like this, that to me says you're going out your way, you're going down swinging, and you're going out there to say, this is what my offense looks like. This is what I wanted to do. We had to run the ball. We were trying to do different things. We couldn't take the risks. But now that everything's on the table, it is what it is. We're running the offense the way I want to run it.
Is there a chance they just saw something in Tampa that they want to exploit?
I don't think so, because it was the same concepts defensively that Carolina ran, and you didn't run it that way. Carolina and
maybe they saw something in the Carolina game that they could have exploited.
But I mean, they did take advantage of Carolina. They had success beating Carolina, running the ball and doing different things with the passing attack. Like, I mean, Rush had 3 touchdowns against Carolina. Mm-hmm. And so you watch this game yesterday and it's like, man, this looks much more similar to what McCarthy's classical West Coast offense has always been. And it makes me wonder, all right, is this him saying, I know that as of now, I'm not coming back, and so I need to just do things my way over the last 3 weeks to try and save my job? Or is it him saying, I know I'm gone, and I need to put this portfolio together to show to other teams that says, hey, most of the year I wasn't able to do what I wanted. You saw what happened. As soon as we got eliminated, I put this out there, and you saw the success we had, and this is what it is. Because this was a different offense that was being run yesterday.
It's possible. It's possible. I think that it's more likely than not that he returns now.
Why change it so much, though? Why wait till you're eliminated and all of a sudden everything is different in the passing game?
I mean, that's why it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. That makes me, wouldn't logically, I'm not saying this is the case, but logically, wouldn't you think of it and go, all right, if you're eliminated and all the passing concepts are changing, doesn't that sound like somebody who's trying to put something out there? Like, doesn't that sound like, why would you change? Why not just keep going with whatever you're going with? Unless you're trying to show something.
Well, maybe he's hedging a bet. Maybe he's hedging a bet.
But that tells me at the very least he's not comfortable that he's 100% back. I don't think that tells me a decision hasn't been made.
Oh, I don't think it. No. Yeah, I agree. I don't think the decision's been made.
Boy, he just sounded, and we'll play this back. Chris, we'll get a clip of this. I don't think we'll play the whole thing. But the McCarthy pregame interview last night with Brad Sham.
Okay, yeah, this is weird because I got a little.
He sounded devastated.
He did sound down. He sounded very down. But the idea from he was angry at Brad.
Oh yeah, and like I said, we'll play it at 9. But there was a clip in there where it seems like he gave Brad one of the answers he typically gives us, where it's like, I'm not getting into philosophical stuff, but he got a little testy with it.
Okay,
but either way, I think that we'll go. I'll go back. I'll look on Post Hut for tomorrow. I think we're gonna see this. This looked like McCarthy putting it on the table and saying, all right, here it is. This is what I'm running. This is what I wanted to run. This is what I wasn't able to because of personnel or whatever else. And once we were eliminated, I said, I'm going down my way. But this was a ton of different concepts that he has not been running all year. Ton of different formation looks, tighter formations, more like, heavier receiver sets, more timing based, quick, get the ball out West Coast concepts, slant flat combos, which he ran a ton in Green Bay. Running his receivers as backs out of the backfield like he did with Ty Montgomery, running Turpin inside instead of on the perimeter like he had been this year. It all looked very much like a different offense to me. And so just something to notice. I think it is indicative that he knows that he's not secure. And he's got to either fight for his job and go down with like, hey, this is what I can do. And this is why you need to, at the very least, you could say this job. You know how we've gotten the idea that McCarthy could be back, but he's not going to be allowed to run the offense.
Yeah.
This could be the factor of just here's me putting on tape why I should run the offense next year.
Could be. From the Franklin injury attorneys fan.
Now, Bobby isn't sold on Mike McCarthy. And based on what they're talking about, the Brad Sham thing, I want to try to find it, but I understand what he's already talking about, is he's saying that Mike seemed to give an indication that, that he wasn't maybe coming back. Or he's not happy he's not happy that he doesn't yet know he's coming back or whatever the case may be. But what we're talking about also, and this is the very reason why to me that Mike McCarthy cannot be trusted, is because I've seen this with Mike McCarthy now 3 times this season. Now, if you're paying attention to what he's saying, Mike McCarthy actually went to a pure West Coast offense. That's really what he did last night. And this is why I say he's went away from the Texas coast from last year. And even when you look at this year, Mike McCarthy did this from time to time. Cleveland game, Texas coast. The next game after that, which was the Saints game? It's like he goes back into pure West Coast because he loves the West Coast. And he even mentioned this year that he did the West Coast offense. I mean, he was talking about the West Coast offense and the way that he learned it. That wasn't what he did last year. He did a modification on the West Coast and brought in some modern day wrinkles and put in some things that were more conducive to Dak Prescott's skill set, going down the field, seam routes, all of those different things. He did that stuff last year, even acclimating the running back in a little bit more. He did that stuff last year, but then he came back this year, and it's like he couldn't decide on what he wanted to do. Texas coast, West Coast, run the ball, not run the ball. And the inconsistency of Mike McCarthy, for me, has been a problem. You notice what Bobby Belt said. All of a sudden, he's running something that he hadn't ran before, or he hadn't been running all this season consistently. Now, let's go back to some of the comments that I see about Rico Dowdle. I do not agree with y'all on Rico Dowdle. Y'all have to understand something. Mike McCarthy does not like to run the ball. This isn't about the fact that Rico Dowdle isn't him. And I've already told you before, when you think about running the ball, you don't run the ball so that your running back can get 100 yards. You don't run the ball to dominate the game. This is the misconception of people you don't run the ball to have a dominant run game. This is the misconception that people have about the run game. No, you run the ball so you can dominate the game. Your run game doesn't have to get 100 yards to be dominant. You just need to keep running the ball. because running the ball will open up so many different things on your offense. And I'm going to tell you what happened with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay saw the game, not just the game, but the game that Rico Dowdle had the previous 3 games, the games he had before them. I said it last night. You can tell it was obvious. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense last night said, we'd rather Cooper Rush beat us, but we're not going to let Rico Dowdle beat us. And they were stopping the run. They were literally stopping the run. But at the same time, did they stop the run or did we stop running? We only ran the ball 13 times. 13 times. So keep running. Keep running. And run with purpose. You have to put as much work into your run game. If you want to run the ball, you put as much into your run game as your pass game. You do. You have to say, hey, because no matter how much improvement we say this offensive line has had, it's still patchwork. This offensive line is still patchwork. So you have to run in ways rather than running straight up the gut, A gap, B gap, rather than just letting those be your runs. When do you run your sweeps? We run all of our jet sweeps out of the backfield. We don't run sweeps with our backs. Rarely do we do that. We run them straight up the gut. Straight up the gut, like we got a top-tier deep offensive line. We don't have a top-tier offensive line. So before we start saying that Rico Dowdle is not him, no. When a team says we're going to stop you from running, then they're going to dedicate the resources to stop you from running. And that's exactly what they did. Go back and look at the tape. Look at the film. How they were playing to the line of scrimmage. They were determined that Rico Dowdle was not going to run the ball on them. And I would have had the same game plan. I would rather than a team have total ball control the whole game and run for 150, 200 yards, 200 plus yards on me, controlling TOP, controlling the tempo of the game, totally just destroying my defense to the point that when they do go for the big plays, they're going to crack that thing and then it's going to be a madhouse. No, I'm going to stop Rico Dowdle. I'll take our chances with Cooper Rush. You know why? Because they almost pulled it off. They almost pulled it off. I said it before the game in the pregame show. I said it before the game. Because if you tell me that both of these teams can run the ball, if you tell me that both of these teams are going to stop the run, if you're going to tell me a lot of these things are going to wash out, then I want it to come down to Cooper Rush versus Baker Mayfield. Because I trust that if someone is going to get a last drive, I would trust that Baker Mayfield wins that last drive rather than Cooper Rush wins that last drive. That's what I would trust. That's exactly what I would trust. And they almost got what they wanted. They almost got it. Baker Mayfield got the last drive. And I just wonder if the Cowboys would have stopped him had he not fumbled the ball. I mean, you could tell almost when he caught the ball. I still question the fact of whether Baker Mayfield should have been that should have been actually in the grasp, and that should have been a sack. I question that, but the referees let him in the grasp, I guess because he was still going forward, so they didn't declare it in the grasp, and then he throws the ball out, which was a great play since they didn't call it in the grasp. But you could tell that something was about to happen because the way the guy was holding the ball like a loaf of bread. He's getting ready to go into traffic. He doesn't tuck the ball in. He doesn't brace himself. I mean, he's got it like a loaf of bread, and right before the contact, he starts trying to bring it into his body, and then he gets hit. And as he's going down, the ball comes out, and DaRon Bland gets it. But I think for the most part, I mean, if I'm the Buccaneers, I'm not really tripping because in reality, I kind of got what I wanted. I wanted it to come down to something. If we couldn't just flat out run them off the field, if it's going to come down to the end, I want Baker to have the ball in his hand last. And Baker isn't the one that caused the turnover. I mean, he isn't the one who made the turnover. Unfortunately, it was a fumble. It happens. It's a part of the game. I mean, there's just no other way to slice it. It was a fumble. But I will push back on Bobby Belt on this. But I also think that Mike McCarthy and the staff anticipated that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to try and stop the run. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't you? If you're getting ready to play the Cowboys and Cooper Rush is the quarterback, and you know that Rico has been the catalyst for the offense, he's been looking like a number one back out there, why would you not say we're going to stop Rico Dowdle? So if you're thinking, hey man, they're going to try to stop the run, how about we just come out with short passes? And then when we get the opportunities, we go down the field. Because the play action for the Cowboys was actually working, not based on that game. The play action for the Cowboys was actually working based on the previous games. They wanted to stop the run. And if a team is going to go after the run and you're throwing the ball on first and second downs and you're throwing those quick strikes, you're probably going to get some in there. I mean, you're probably going to have some success at passing the ball. You are. You're going to have some success. And you can clearly see, if you pay attention to the game, you can clearly see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers made adjustments in the second half. They made adjustments. The only problem is they made the adjustments in the second half. They were able to get back in the game, but what nobody anticipated, and I said this yesterday and I said it before, I've been saying it all season. The thing that has been betraying Mike Zimmer's defense is poor secondary play. It's been plaguing him all year long. It's been poor secondary play. You want to know what was the very thing that helped him and this team win the game? It was secondary play. Man, them dudes were thumping. DaRon Bland traveling, something they didn't do with Diggs. Very rarely did they do that with Diggs. Every blue moon, they did that with Diggs. DaRon Bland traveling with Mike Evans was genius. It was genius. It was absolutely genius. DaRon Bland, man, he held Mike Evans down. He did. He nailed him down. Mike Evans, I mean, you look at this. This is the stats on Mike Evans. DaRon Bland held Mike Evans to 5 receptions and 69 yards. I'll take it every day of the week. The secondary play was incredible. In particular, DaRon Bland. Because Mike Evans is their CeeDee Lamb. He's really their go-to receiver. And Jordan Lewis, again, that interception he made on McMillan was the game changer. Because that was a touchdown. That was an absolute touchdown. Baker should have put that ball a little further out. And because he didn't get it perfectly out, And Jordan Lewis was the coverage was he was beat, but he wasn't beaten. And Jordan Lewis is a dog. He's not going to give up on the play. And because the ball is slightly, ever so slightly, Jordan Lewis catches up, don't give up on the ball. McMillan catches it. Jordan Lewis gets his hands on it. They spin. He comes up with the ball. Jordan Lewis, I'm telling you, the secondary play for the Cowboys was crazy out there. It was crazy. And it didn't help that when Baker tried to go to Shepard dropped 2 passes. Then when he finally got a real nice one, he got 1 for 20, run out the game with a hamstring. And so when you think about this Bucs offense, it was actually predicated around 2 players, Mike Evans and Bucky Irving. Now let's understand what happened with Bucky Irving. The Cowboys did something in this game that they didn't characteristically do in the beginning of the season. Because Mike McCarthy believes in when he wins the toss, he'll defer. Well, he didn't defer. And sort of towards this game, he's also been trying to do that too to set the pace, but he didn't defer. I thought that was very smart. So since he didn't defer, they were able to come out, and before the Buccaneers even blinked, Cowboys were up 10-0. You play different when you're ahead, even by 10. You can play a lot more relaxed. And the Cowboys, follow me, y'all, they're already playing relaxed. The Cowboys are already playing relaxed because the reality is, what do they have to be uptight for now? They're not playing for anything. I mean, the only thing they're playing for now is pride. That's all they're playing for. There's no playoffs on the line. I mean, there's none of this stuff that would typically have you kind of have you tight. No, they're playing loose as they want to because, okay, what's the consequence of them losing? What's the consequence? So they get up on the Buccaneers 10-0 in the first quarter. That made the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have to play different. Because where they wanted to run the ball, because the Cowboys got a couple of stops, they're down 10-0. So now rather than, okay, are we going to continue to be patient and run the ball, which they did run the ball some, there's a little bit more urgency there. Because now Baker's got to go to the air a lot more. Why? Because Baker now has got to get them back in the game and understand something. See, the Buccaneers are playing with a different mindset. They have to win. And while on paper, they're better than the Cowboys, they're playing a lot tighter than the Cowboys because they have something to play for. They're playing in we have to win mode. Cowboys are playing in, hey man, win or lose, it don't matter. They're playing with house money. Expectations. When you're playing with expectations and it's mentality, don't tell me no one does it. When something's on the line, you play different. And when something's on the line, and while I still say that the Bucs is probably a better team overall, how much better than the Cowboys are the Bucs? When you're not a superior team playing a team, you're playing still a little bit different. Because it's not like the Buccaneers on offense, it's not like they got super studs all the way across the line also. I mean, they got Mike Evans, but he's their CeeDee Lamb. I like McMillan. I like Shepard. I would probably take them, but Shepard goes out. That equalizes the game. McMillan, he played a good game, but he made a very costly. I mean, the giveaway to Jordan Lewis was very costly. Very costly. And so I push back on Bobby a little bit because I think that the Cowboys, in actuality, I think Mike McCarthy realized that they were going to try to stop the run, and so he came out passing. He did. I think it's a smart move. I don't think he did that by accident. I think he did that by design. I think he did that by design, and I think it was smart. I think it was very smart. And I'm going to give McCarthy credit for that. I'm going to give him a lot of credit for that. Jay Recruiter, Vita V almost slammed, man. He almost killed Turpin. Man, it's crazy. Troy Dudley says, in my opinion, there were running lanes for a real number one running back. You know what? I was talking to somebody about this on X today. And I think with Rico Dowdle, now, we have to understand the system that a player is in, unless you're transcendent, and there's not a lot of those players, the system that a player is in matters. And I don't think it's an issue that Rico Dowdle may not be him. I'm going to be very careful about saying he's not him. But the choices that Mike made, the choices that the Bucs made, and the system that we run may not be for Rico Dowdle. I mean, it just may not be for Rico Dowdle. There's a combination of things that could have been. But I'm not going to judge Rico Dowdle on this game. But, I mean, come on, man. We did the same thing with Dalvin Cook. Man, we let Dalvin Cook get out there one game, and they were done with him. This is what Dallas does. And Mike McCarthy, point-blank range. I don't think this had anything to do with Rico Dowdle, not him. Rico Dowdle couldn't run. I think Mike McCarthy made his mind up he was not running the ball. He made his mind up. And he made his mind up that he was only going to spread so many of those runs in. This is exactly what Bobby Belt is talking about. No, he made a clear decision. This was not about Rico Dowdle. He made a clear decision to run. To pass the ball. He was intent, on purpose. He didn't care what it was. He was going to pass the ball. Why? Because he loves to do it. He loves it. He loves to pass the ball. And there were some opportunities there because, as a matter of fact, we looked at it before the game, and there was some opportunities there. I looked at it last night after the game, and when you go back and look at the stats on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there was some opportunities there. I mean, there was some very good passing opportunities there when you looked at the stats on them. And Mike McCarthy took advantage of it. He did. Got to give him credit. Yeah, I'm going to push back on Bobby on that. No, he took advantage of it. And I applaud him for that. But here's the problem I got with this whole situation. And this is why I say it. The thing that bothers me is it's more of the same. Let me show you what happened in this game. It's crazy to me. This is why I say you have to watch the tape. You have to watch these games. You have to look at the stats. Look at some of the analytics. I'm not all into the analytics stuff. I think some of that stuff, we just make excuses for certain things. But I'm going to show you what I'm telling you is true just by even the statistics. Do you actually think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wanted Baker Mayfield to throw the ball 43 times? I mean, he was very efficient for the most part. They didn't want him to throw the ball 43 times. But when the Cowboys got up on them so quick, it changed, and they had to because they were actually in danger of going down 17-13-0. And if they'd have went down 13 or 17-0, boy, it would have been a bloodbath. I think the Cowboys would have I think that defense would have really ratcheted it up on them. Because you get up 17 points, now I'm going to start sitting in the crib on you. I'm about to start sitting in the crib on you. Bucky Irvin only 16 times. That wasn't the plan. Cowboys did something that they have rarely done. They dictated to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not only what the Dallas Cowboys were going to do in the first half, they dictated to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, now this is what you're going to have to do based on what we've done. Now you got to counteract. And so Baker Mayfield, I promise you, they didn't plan on throwing the doggone ball 43 times. And then when you look back at Cooper Rush, when you run the ball 13 times, this isn't just about stopping you from running the ball. No, they made a point that they were going to throw the ball 35 times. 35 times. 292 and 1 touchdown. 35 times. And I was looking at this today, and this is why I say this was a tale of two halves. Because if you look at this overall, and, to me, this isn't, people are talking about Cooper. This is why I say temporary expectations. These numbers are not phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination. They're good numbers. And if you're telling me this is the backup, I'm like, man, that's a good day. That's a really good day. Last week was a good day. Had a good day again. But in this game, you got to be careful saying Cooper Rush had a good game. This is the cold hard facts and the truth that nobody wants to accept. Cooper Rush had a great half. But I don't know how you slice it. The only way I can slice it, that if his first half was incredible. I don't want to say I don't want to go incredible. He had a great first half. So if you tell me he had a great first half, then I have to tell you he had an atrocious second half. And so he didn't have a great game, but I'll say he had a good game. He had a good game. Cooper Rush in the first half was 19 of 26, 233 yards. That's the first half. You want to know what he was in the second half? Half. He was 7 of 9 for 59 yards. We push some of the craziest narratives. This stuff is all right here in vivid color. He was 10 points. They got 10 points, 13 points, all in the first half. You get 3 points in the second half? And in actuality, this is the typical Cooper Rush game. You know how I know? Because the offense only scored 2 touchdowns. That's his average. Carolina broke his average. This is his average. You know what this team typically does when Cooper Rush is the quarterback? 2 touchdowns, 4, 5 field goals. Guess how many field goals they had? I'm not making this up. These are the truths that we don't want to see. This is nothing that we have not seen before. It's all the same stuff. It's just dressed up different. It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. If you tell me someone had a great game, then I'm saying from start to finish. If you tell me somebody went 19 of 26 for 233 and 1 touchdown in the first half, and then they only get 3 points in the second half and they go 7 of 9 for 59 yards, then I'm telling you, no, they had a great first half and then they reverted back to a pumpkin in the second half. I don't know what else to tell you. Because that's exactly what happened. And they basically had to survive. They had to survive to win the game. And Cooper Rush formula, again, they got 4 turnovers against Carolina. Zimmer is the real MVP of this thing. 4 turnovers against Carolina. What was it? 6 sacks against Carolina. What did they do in this game? Multiple turnovers again. And 2 pivotal turnovers that basically turned the game. That interception in the end zone was crazy. I mean, yeah, 2 turnovers, and both of them changed the game. The fumble and this takeaway by Jordan Lewis. Spectacular play by Jordan Lewis. Because I'm telling you, they get that touchdown, I have a feeling again. Y'all do realize this team's threshold in reality against good teams, the reality is the threshold is about 20 to 27 points. 30 is an anomaly. 30 is an absolute anomaly. Think about how many turnovers it took to get the Dallas Cowboys to 30 points. It's an anomaly. And when you look at this game, you scored 3 points in the second half. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And that tells you what happened, the defense. Even when you're looking at these 3 points, these field goals, the defense stepped up in a major way. And man, them boys were thumping. They were thumping. That Dallas Cowboys secondary, man, I'm telling you, people talking about, I'm telling you, it is the best game I've seen that secondary play all year long. Thumping. Contesting. Thumping. They were bringing some absolute heat. They were, man. Got to give it to them. And they held that game down to the very last minute. And even when you think about the last play, it came down to the fact they were thumping. That defense was, man, I'm telling you, them boys, that secondary, man, they were literally thumping. They were thumping. I mean, you think about this game. They had what? The defense had 1, 2, well, they have like 3. Look at the team stats real quick. Defense. Defense had 4 sacks. Defense had 4 sacks and 2 turnovers, I believe. 4 sacks and 2 turnovers. I mean, the defense was absolutely crazy out there. They were. There's just no getting around it. They were absolutely awesome. They were absolutely awesome. They had 1 fumble. They had 1 interception. That secondary was killing it. Got to give them credit. Offense did their thing in the first half, but they met their threshold. I don't know how else to tell you. I mean, it is what it is. Freddie said, coulda, woulda, shoulda, at the end of the day, the boys were ahead when the clock hit the 000s. Well, that's not all that matters in the grand scheme of things. It was mattering to win because a win is a win. But what I'm saying in all of this is, but we got to stop being prisoners of the moment. What we are doing, y'all, and this is why I'm saying all this. See, I'm looking at these games in evaluation mode. That's because what else can you be looking at them in? You're not going to the playoffs. You got all these players who don't have contracts next year. The coach doesn't even have a contract. What are we watching? I mean, are we watching just for the fun? Oh, I hope we win. No, we're looking not only for today, but we're looking at the future of this team. What are they going to look like? Because some of these players that we're looking at, they're not going to be here. They're not going to be here. Jay Recruiter, I like what you said there. The Bucs are not good in primetime games. Michael says you don't stop running because you're not winning on downs. Make them play every blade on the field. I agree. I mean, you got to keep running. But this is why I push back on Rico not being him and all of this other stuff. No, Mike McCarthy intently did not run the ball. Intently. Because really it's his MO. He doesn't like to run the ball. He did what he liked to do. He loved the West Coast. And you think about the West Coast, it really fits a quarterback like Cooper Rush. The offense for Cooper Rush, they've dumbed it way down. And I told everyone this when they first bought Cooper Rush in. And it's not a knock on Cooper Rush. He's not Dak Prescott. So don't try to make him be Dak Prescott. You let him be Cooper Rush. You dumbed this thing all the way down. Notice what he did. There's typically only one read, two at the most. Cooper Rush, immediately, he goes right to his primary target. That's it. He goes right to his primary target. And thankfully, CeeDee Lamb is such a dominant target. You just go right to him. But if you take away his first read, Cooper Rush struggles. He struggles. He's not going to climb like Baker Mayfield was doing last night. Baker Mayfield or Dak Prescott or any of these other starting quarterbacks, they climb through. They go through the progression. Primary covered. Go to the second. Or this is my primary. Let me look off over here like I'm looking at the third, but in reality, he's the third. This is the primary. I'm going to look off the safety, go to the primary. Cooper's doing none of that. Cooper's doing none of that. There's a stat out now. They're talking about Cooper Rush is getting the ball out the second quickest in the NFL. 2.5 seconds per throw or something to that nature. Yeah, and you look at the yards per throw, I mean, he's getting them 3-4 yards. That's kind of what he did last night. He nickeled and dimed them to death. And then he got a couple of big ones down the field. Some of it was yards after the catch. But Cooper Rush is fitting the system that Mike McCarthy has put in, this very simplified West Coast offense. And it definitely works when you're playing against lesser competition. The problem is when you ramp up the competition, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And this is even what Dan Orlovsky was saying, and I just can't even believe I agree with Dan Orlovsky, but Dan Orlovsky said it for what it is. It's the truth. This is not sustainable. This is good to win games if you're beating the teams, you're beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the world. This offense is not sustainable, and even this defense, as much as I give Zimmer credit, even this defense is not sustainable. It's not sustainable against the playoff teams. This is why I keep telling folks get me all in their feelings, but you can tell me anything you want to, but Green Bay last year when we went in that playoff game, I don't care what the record was. Green Bay was better than us. It was a terrible matchup. We couldn't run the ball and we couldn't stop the run. It was a terrible matchup. And when you start talking about going into playoff games or being ultra competitive, this stuff doesn't work. Doesn't work. And that's why I'm trying to temper our expectations in Overreaction Monday, because people act like now we got a world-beating team. We don't have a world-beating team. I said it before the game and I'm going to say it again. We're not a bad team. We're not. We're not a bad team. I don't think we are a good team yet, but we're not a bad team. We got some players on this team. The question is, can we figure out a way to galvanize this team around something other than let's keep Mike McCarthy? Because what happens if we keep Mike McCarthy? What do we do then? So what's the new mantra cry? Let's win one for Mike McCarthy. Well, why hadn't we had that attitude the last 3 seasons? So what changes? The scare that Mike McCarthy might be gone, so now we're going to turn it up another level. Let me tell you something. Turning and flipping switches is not what champions do. A lot of people try to flip this. Oh, we're going to flip the switch. Okay. You won't always be able to flip that switch. What you better learn how to do is be consistent. Be a team that is consistently good. So you don't have to worry about flipping switches. No, you beat teams. You beat teams. You don't worry about all that stuff. You just beat teams. You don't have to worry about that stuff. Exactly, Jay Recruiter. I said the same thing. It's just an extension of the run game. And that's exactly what he did. He was intent on running what he ran. He was. I don't think it's anything about Rico, not him. People get stopped. Hey, man, running backs get stopped. And you know what? I said it last night. I'm going to give Rico Dallas flowers, man. Same thing I said about CeeDee Lamb this year. It took CeeDee Lamb a moment to adjust. Hey, CeeDee Lamb, you're a superstar. They're going to double and triple team you. They're going to knock you on the ground. They're going to jam you. Welcome to being a superstar, bro. It took him some time to get used to that. Same thing with Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, welcome. You have arrived. When you come into a game and a team says they're going to stop you, you've arrived, bro. We're looking at this like Rico, not him. No, you can tell. There were two things that were evident. Mike McCarthy intently wanted to pass the ball, and Tampa Bay intently wanted to stop the run. Both of those things are true. Mike says like a heavyweight fighter going to tie your toe. Bucks was getting in some shots. They were. But I think what they didn't anticipate, man, I'm telling you, I don't think anybody could have anticipated it. That Dallas secondary was phenomenal. And I'm talking all the way down to the safeties. Them dudes were thumping. Man, you could hear plastic. Man, you could hear plastic clacking, man. Them dudes were thumping. Michael A. says, keep Bland over Diggs. Man, I'm going to tell you something. We probably don't even need to be talking about Trayvon Diggs. When you start talking about what Trayvon Diggs is about to go through with this whole procedure with the cartilage and all of that, it makes me mad when I hear Stephen Jones saying stuff like, we got a plan to bring Trayvon Diggs back and he can be back at the beginning of the season. No. Trayvon Diggs don't need 8 months. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it's obvious Stephen Jones let the cat out of the bag. He said he's been struggling with this knee for 2 years. So why not let him get it totally right? And stop trying to put a date on him coming back and playing at the beginning of the season. It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. We shouldn't do this stuff with these timelines. Let these guys get healthy. Thankfully, we got Bland. And they need to go in this draft and attack it like Trayvon Diggs is not coming back and like Overshown is not coming back. So that when they come back, guess what? You got depth. Now you have depth. Now you will have another good cornerback along with Trayvon Diggs. Now you'll have some flexibility. Now you can do some things. Same thing with Overshown. I mean, I just think Overshown, when I look at Darren Woodson's size and I look at Demarion Overshown's size, I really think the Cowboys ought to consider moving Demarion Overshown to safety. Let him be the new Darren Woodson for this team. I think he would be absolutely crazy at the safety spot. Get him away from the line. He's a slender type of linebacker. And the way he got hurt this time was a freak accident. They rolled up on his leg. Get him away from those scrums. Let him come downhill. Man, I'm telling you, this dude, Demarion Overshown, is the real deal. They could do some things with him. I really do think they should move him to safety. J. Army, the Cowboys winning last literally had Jerry Jones dancing, hitting the two-step, excited, getting eliminated, no urgency, no caring about going all out for the fans, just I know exactly what you said. Rinse, wash, repeat, and give the fans. J. Army, I said this early on. You know what really got me in my feelings? That a lot of these fans who were talking about Jerry Jones, when are you going to tell him he was right? When are you going to tell him he was right? Because the reality is, based on what we're seeing, And based on what people are saying, because not based on what I'm seeing, but based on what people say they're seeing, and based on what people are saying, that the reality is Jerry Jones had the right idea all along. Because had these players not got hurt, we would be way better. Then you got to tell Jerry Jones he was right. You got to tell Jerry Jones he was right in letting all those veterans go. You got to tell Jerry Jones he was right by not bringing in Aaron Jones, by not bringing in Derrick Henry, by not bringing in Saquon Barkley, by not getting Nick Chubb, by bringing in Ezekiel Elliott, by him never doing anything at the trade deadlines, by never bringing in any players, bringing in Jonathan Mingo. In spite of all that, had we not got injured, we would have been 11-5. Well, tell Jerry he's right then. Tell Jerry he's right. Because that's basically what people are saying. They don't even realize it. Tell Jerry he's right then. But to me, the reality is the result of this season is the very thing that tells me Jerry wasn't right. He wasn't right. Yeah, Bland is physical. Diggs doesn't like contact. Yep, he's a very finesse corner. Yeah, Diggs. Now, Diggs not injured. Diggs is Diggs. He's done some jobs on some receivers. You know, you take out the job he's done on Jamar Chase. You know, he's done some jobs, but man, you know what? I'm not going to say I'm going to give him a pass, but I have to put this into the consideration. Trayvon Diggs actually hasn't been right for 2 years. Trayvon Diggs hasn't been right, and this team has been hiding that. Trayvon Diggs has not been right. And until Trayvon Diggs get right, I don't know we can really say what he is. Again, Bruce got the juice. If they lose again, Cowboys get double eliminated. Losing an undrafted pick. Okay, give me a little bit more on that. Losing an undrafted pick. You talking about those compensatories? Give me a little bit more context on that. Okay, that's very interesting what you're saying, Bruce got the juice. Jay Recruiter, Bucks look nervous under the bright lights. And Jay Recruiter, it's exactly what I'm saying. You play different when you're playing for something. And they were playing almost tight. They're playing like they're playing not to lose. We got to win. They're not playing loose like, hey, man, we can win this game easy. Let's go out here and do it. Cowboys were playing like we had nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. At least the defense was. Bruce said I heard a lot of Buck fans that they were saying they suck in primetime in general. Yeah, I guess that's a thing they're saying. Accepting the ball or deferring matters. Yep, it did. And it changed the game. Do you not agree, Michael H? I think it changed the game. It can change how you open up your game plan if you get scored on. It changed the game. The fact that they came out, scored, and got up 10-0, it mattered. It made Tampa Bay do some stuff they didn't want to do early on. Mike said behind the makeshift line is still getting 883 yards. You have to give the guy the benefit of the doubt and say you don't know if he's him. And I'm going to tell you this, Michael H. I'm giving him his flowers because when a team says we're going to stop you, hey, man, you're pretty good. Because sometimes when a team say they're going to stop you, they can stop you. See what Green Bay did to CeeDee Lamb in the playoffs. We see what people do to Michael Parsons on a weekly basis. You can still be good, but when teams say they're going to stop you, they can stop you. Jay Recruiter, Michael was not 100% because of the flu. He didn't say anything about it, but their kicker kept missing field goals. That's when Trey really started to panic. Yeah, that's when they really started to panic. Cowboys was making their field goals. Yeah, and we're going to talk about Brandon Aubrey too. They held on thanks to the defense, for sure. Defense played out of their mind. Them boys were thumping, boy. Man, I'm telling you, if that secondary can play like that next year, them boys going to be bad. Them boys were thumping, man. Freddie said that's why if Genty is not there when the boys turn to pick, I hope Abdul Carter is. Boy, you two. And they take him. Imagine Parsons over Sean Carter and hopefully Sam Williams coming at the woo. Man, I'm going to tell you, boy, this Abdul Carter dude they talking about, I would love for them to get him. But there's so many running backs in this draft, even if they don't get Genty, they can still be successful. Aubrey was getting most of those points. He scored 14 points. Aubrey scored 14 points. I mean, when you count the extra points, Brandon Aubrey scored 14 points. The offense under Cooper Rush scored 12. Brandon Aubrey, and when I say even the special teams, see, we think when I'm talking special teams, it's not always about the kick return. It's the field goals we're kicking too. Do we not realize the field goals that Brandon Aubrey is kicking? Brandon Aubrey, y'all, Brandon Aubrey isn't kicking regular field goals. Brandon Aubrey is making hard stuff look easy. Brandon Aubrey, 58-yard field goal. When Brandon Aubrey kicked that field goal, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not a person that gets really I mean, when you watch a field goal, kick a field goal, you just kind of like, yeah, okay, he made it. Great job. When I'm watching Brandon Aubrey kick field goals, it's almost like I'm watching a 50-yard bomb from the quarterback to the receiver. This dude is making 58-yard field goals look like an extra point. This dude kicked a 58-yard field goal like it was nothing. 58. He went 49. 58? Do y'all know how many teams you can beat when your kicker can kick 58-yard field goals like they're extra points? This dude kicked two 58-yard field goals like they were nothing. Well, you already know what the 53-yarder looked like. Let me tell y'all something. Folks can say anything they want to say. But Brandon Aubrey can make a strong case. I mean, I'm not saying he can make the case. This dude can make a strong case. This year on this team, he can make a strong case. He's been the MVP. Brandon Aubrey can make a strong case because it's actually Brandon Aubrey. I mean, Michael H., you just made a perfect point. Other teams, and we've watched other teams play the Cowboys, and their field goal kickers miss field goals, miss extra points. We've seen Brandon Aubrey do it, but not a lot. In actuality, Brandon Aubrey is making field goals that other players can't make, other kickers can't make. Brandon Aubrey is clearly the best kicker in football. It's not even close. And that's not even an overreaction. It might be an overreaction to say he's the MVP of the team, but I could make the case. I can make the case that he has actually been the reason. He's been the reason because he is so good at kicking that where most teams wouldn't even call it field goal range. See, let me tell you how stupid good this dude is. Brandon Aubrey is so stupid good that the moment you cross the 50, you automatically start thinking, Brandon Aubrey, get warmed up. This dude is stupid good. Tell me he's not good. Name another. I mean, it's almost like having beast mode for the Seattle Seahawks, and you're inside the 5-yard line, and everybody knows. Well, inside the 5-yard line, they got beast mode. I mean, it's pretty much. You almost think it's almost automatic. Brandon Aubrey is that good. And he could literally make the case that he could be the MVP. He could make that case. This dude about to get paid, man. Todd Francis is his agent. This dude is about to get paid. I'm going to let you guys watch some of the game, and then I'm going to come back tonight for the late show. I got some other things to talk about on here. But I was looking at some insights on this game. And yeah, I was looking at some insights on this game, and it was really some crazy stuff in here. And they were talking about this thing for there was a couple of these things that caught my eye on insights for the game. And one of the things that caught my eye was about Cooper Rush and this issue. He's thrown for 506 yards and 8 touchdowns against man coverage since week 11. And you know what that tells me? Because he hasn't actually thrown for a lot of yards. But this is one of those analytical breakdowns. You want to know what's crazy? The reason why this is happening is because Mike McCarthy, if you'll notice, he has done a great job of scheming open receivers, especially ever since Troy Aikman said what he said about the route concepts. When Troy Aikman said what he said about the route concepts, Mike started doing some altering, doing some rub routes and doing some different types of crossing routes so that he could get a receiver isolated on one-on-one. And that's how he's been having success with Cooper Rush. That's how he's been having success. Thought that was very interesting. There's another one in here, though, that's even crazier. And see, this is the other thing I was telling you about, another insight. Cooper Rush has averaged 2.54 seconds time to throw this season, the second quickest in the NFL, trailing only Tua Tagovailoa and Baker Mayfield 2.63. But let's really dig inside of this and understand what's being said. That's because, one, the West Coast offense, the style that it is, and they're very short passes. They're very short passes. Because in actuality, even when you look at all of these stats and you're like, yeah, I mean, these things are crazy. They're actually not crazy. Because when you look at Cooper Rush's overall stats, his completion percentage isn't even good. Completion percentage isn't good. The yards isn't really that good. It all screams backup, good backup, but it's all that it screams. And I thought this was actually very telling, too, about the difference between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott. It says, since Cooper Rush took over as the starter in Week 10, CeeDee Lamb has averaged just 6.2 air yards per target, the fifth fewest among wide receivers with at least 20 targets in that span. This happens every time Cooper Rush comes in for these stints. CeeDee Lamb's stats go way down. And of course, because it's Cooper Rush, is because of how they play in Cooper Rush. They don't want him doing all the reading. They don't want him, they don't want him doing progressions. They literally fix it to where one read. And if they run you off that read, hey man, cross your fingers. Last night if 51 doesn't drop it, hit him right in the bread basket. He catches it, he might be going to the crib, and it'd have been a game changer. It would have been a game changer. You get him off his mark, you get him away from that primary receiver, it's different. And so what we're watching and what they're saying, you got to put those two things together and understand what they're doing. They know who Cooper Rush is. I appreciate that. That's what you're supposed to do. You need to know who your quarterback is. And then you accommodate him. You accommodate him. It's not a knock on anyone. You accommodate him. You create the system. You create the system around the quarterback. You're not concerned about what he's not. What is he? And they're using and doing with Cooper Rush what he is. I appreciate it. You're not going to get the flashy numbers. You can forget about it because that's not who Cooper Rush is. You're not going to get the flashy numbers. You may get flashy for him. You're not going to get those games you're getting out of Dak Prescott. When Dak Prescott plays competition this week, man, Dak throwing up 40. Dak going to town on teams like that. You're not going to get that with Cooper Rush. You're going to play some lesser competition, and your defense better be on alert because you're going to probably be playing a very tight game with a team that's probably not that good. We're going to need some extra plays out of the defense. We're going to need some plays out of the special teams. We're going to need some long field goals made. We're going to need a whole lot of those things with Cooper Rush. But, hey, guys, he'll get us 2 touchdowns. We can get 4 field goals from Brandon Aubrey. We're going to score somewhere between 20 and 27 points because they actually averaging 20. We're going to get somewhere around 20 points. Defense, if you can hold them down, you can hold them off, we can win some games. Unfortunately, that's not sustainable. Appreciate your crush. Thanks for that super chat. He says, get a new offensive and defensive play caller and let everybody with last ending contracts walk. They're about to get from up under some contracts from what Stephen Jones said. They're already going to get up. They're about to get from up under D-Law. They're about to get from up under Zach Martin. And so, of course, now you got the contracts with Dak and you got the contracts with CeeDee Lamb. But those contracts, the way they got them presently constructed, they can they can go ahead and eat that money straight up in the first 3 years of Dak's contract. And CeeDee's is only a 3-year extension anyway. I do have a feeling, though, they're going to change out those. I mean, they're going to probably flip the switches on those contracts, kick them down into the void years, and we'll probably still be paying for Dak Prescott at least. I know we'll be paying for Dak Prescott even after he leaves. But, and I'm with you on this. I think you need to bring in a new play caller. But I'm also with Bobby Belt on this part is Mike McCarthy may be trying to prove that he should be the play caller. He may be trying to prove he should be the play caller. Because that may be the alternative for him, that if you want to be the coach, you can't be the play caller. And I don't want it to be Brian Schottenheimer. I think they need to bring in someone else. That may be one of the stipulations. And as much as we like Zim, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bring back Zim, as good as he's been coaching. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I believe they like Al Harris, and I think they want to give Al Harris a chance. I do. I think they want to give Al Harris a chance. Michael H. says the Cowboys are losing their next 2 games. And you know what, Mike? Now, here's my question. This is why, for me, I'm not falling for this fool's gold. Great. Hey, great. We beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let's give credit where credit is due. They are a winning team. I mean, they're not a winning team as in the 10s and the 12s, but they're a winning team. We beat a winning team. It's the 3rd one this season we beat. Pittsburgh Commanders, and now the Bengals. Now the Bucs. But I also look at how we beat those teams. See, that's the stuff I look at. I'm not just looking at, some people just look at a win. But I'm looking at how we win. Because when I look at how we win, I'm watching a trend. We're not just beating teams. There are so many things. The scores are real close, and we're always within a fluke play to where we could lose a game. I mean, the Carolina game has really, in this little run with Cooper Rush, the Carolina game is the only game that the other team didn't have a chance to win within the last 3 minutes of the game. I mean, it's the only team I can think of that we've beat like that in this whole run. And when you're playing with hey, man, when you're making deals with the devil like that, because I'm concerned about Kansas City. I think Kansas City is making deals with the devil. You have to be careful when you're winning games in these types of fashions, because eventually the devil is going to come for his pay. You're not going to win these games like that. Not all the time. You keep thinking you're going to keep winning these games by hook or crook, and these plays the referees are giving you, or maybe your defense is making a great play. Maybe Brandon Aubrey is kicking from the parking lot, and you keep thinking that it's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. It's not. It's not sustainable. It's the same thing from last year. The way we were beating teams with one wide receiver and a dynamic quarterback, it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't sustainable. We got to the point we couldn't do it no more. We couldn't do it no more. And I wonder, Michael, what are they going to be saying if we lose the next 2 games? And how we lose the next 2 games. What if we go down to Philly and they absolutely thump us? I mean, they put up 40 on the they put up 40 on the offense, on the defense this time. What if we only score again, 10 points? What if we only score 10 points against them? What if we don't score a touchdown against them? What if that happens? What do we do? Are we going to be looking at Mike McCarthy again? Are we going to be saying this team is this and that and the other? This is my problem. We're being captured. We're being prisoners of the moment, and we're not looking at this team the right way. What we are looking at, or what we should be looking at, is okay. This is not the team we're going to have next year. What are the pieces? Who are the pieces going to be here next year? How are they looking? How are they performing in this game? Because I'm sorry, in these games right now, we've seen nothing. We've seen nothing we haven't seen before. And that's my issue. We're not seeing anything we hadn't seen before. Troy says true, but he says Dak does not want to change his career on maybe at 31. He knows this system. And I think that's a part of it, Troy. I don't think Dak wants to learn a new system. I said that when he first came out. I said there may be an ulterior motive. Dak is 31. He doesn't want to learn a new system. That's hard on you. That's hard on you when you have to learn a new system again, because it's not so much you're learning because they're all running the same routes and stuff like that, but you're having to learn new language, transliteration, whole new jargon. You're learning everything so new. But I'm not going to be surprised if they bring Mike McCarthy back. Yeah, I said the same thing, Michael Lakes, the other day. CeeDee Lamb is this dude a yak monster, man. He's deceptively strong and deceptively fast. He get a step on you, bye-bye. He's not 4'3", but he get a step on you. I mean, unless you are that 4'4", 4'3" guy, probably not going to catch him. You're not going to bring him down with arm tackles. Arm tackles don't do it for CD. You got to wrap him up. If you don't wrap him up, he'll go to the crib on you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he's a yak monster. Roberta said exactly. Roberta is not Roberta, what's going on, Roberta? She said exactly. Cooper Rush is not that quarterback. He's not. And what they've done is they've tailored the game around who he is. And see, Roberta, I'm telling us something. I think Jerry Jones, while he's saying all these good things about Mike McCarthy, I also think he's reserving the right to not sign Mike McCarthy. Because the way that Bill Belichick contract is designed with the the North Carolina Tar Heels, he can get out of that contract where it'll only be a $1 million buyout. If he does it, I think it's before June the 5th or June 25th or somewhere in that range. And so people may not realize it. Bill Belichick isn't off the table. He's not off the table. I'm really interested to see what they do. Jerry's going to keep us in suspense until the last minute. Roberta, we need new owners. You know what? I wouldn't mind keeping the owners if they would get real GMs. I wouldn't mind keeping them. Just get real GMs and let them do their job. I would give Will McClay. I wish the Cowboys would just say, hey, Will McClay is the GM now. All player personnel from here on out, y'all blame Will. I bet you Will would tear the league up. I bet he would tear the league up. Freddie says, Roberto, you only need to be a billionaire. You need to buy the boys away from Jerry, and he ain't selling anytime soon. Oh, no, there is pride and joy. But I do wish that if he would just say, I mean, even if you don't get it, let Will McClay do it. Roberta Bacon, Green Bay 14, Saints 0. Yeah, I kind of figured that. I mean, these Monday night games, they're just... This is the part of the season that you either love or hate depending upon who your team is. This is the part of the season where the playoffs are pretty much solidified. When you look at the NFL and what's going on with the playoffs, any of these teams outside of the playoff teams, it's going to be very boring watching them. You think about what's going on, especially in the AFC. But if you look over here at the NFC, this is what's interesting right here. This is the thing that's interesting in the NFC. Which one of these teams get the number 1 seed? Who would have thunk it that Jalen Hurts goes down and they go 12-3? They were right in the thick, and I think they had a great chance of getting the number 1 seed. Depending upon the Lions and the Vikings, I'm trying to remember. The Lions beat the Vikings by 2 this season. I think the Lions and the Vikings will be the last game of the season with each other, and depending upon what happens in between that, they will be playing for the home field advantage. And depending upon how each one of them wins, or if they win, the Eagles, some kind of way, still have a shot, I think, at the number 1 seed. It kind of shrunk with the loss to the Commanders, but they still have an opportunity. And then in the NFC, this right here, a lot of this stuff is pretty much solidified. This is pretty much who you're going to see. The Buccaneers are kind of on the outside looking in, but I think that the Buccaneers are going to have a chance to get back in because we got to understand Michael Penix Jr., this is his second start. I will not be surprised if Washington knocks them right back out. I would not be surprised if Washington knocks them right back out of there. And the Bucs, if they can win, will come right back in here. And so, other than these teams right here, because even the Commanders, even the Packers, I mean, in reality, their spot solidified. The Commanders' spot solidified. So, the only teams that are really worth watching right now is the playoff matchups. I mean, everything else, these teams right here, it all depends in the AFC. It all depends on who they're playing. But if they're playing these lesser teams, this is the part of the NFL that you absolutely hate, because when these teams who are not in contention, they start playing, it is boring. It is absolutely boring. So I want to bring up a couple other thoughts for y'all to think about. And this may be very controversial. Let me read a couple of more of the comments. Roberto said Brandon is a $6 million kicker. You don't understand. You might be saying more than you understand right now. Because as good as he is, I don't know what kickers make, but he may actually be the $6 million a year. I mean, he might actually be. You see something here. I mean, let's see what you're saying. You may be more true, and maybe you meant what you were saying. Let's see. Okay, highest paid kicker contracts and salaries. Let's see. Okay, Roberta, you think you slick, don't you? You knew exactly what you were talking about. You knew exactly what you were talking about when you said the $6 million kicker, didn't you? Because the highest paid kicker's average salary, which is Harrison Butker, he makes $6.4 million a season. Brandon Aubrey is going to have to make at least that. He's going to have to make at least that before he steps back on the field next season. And he's on the last year of the contract, I'm thinking next season. But he won't step back on the field for two reasons. Let me show y'all how pathetic this is. Harrison Butker is 6.4. Jake Elliott is $6 million. Justin Tucker is $6 million. Let me show you where Brandon Aubrey ranks. Brandon Aubrey is, what is that? He's number 25. He doesn't even make $1 million a season. 2026, he'll be a restricted free agent. Don't worry. I'll be shocked. I don't think Brandon Aubrey hits the field again without a contract. And if I'm Brandon Aubrey, people can get mad, get glad with a heavyweight trash bag. I wouldn't touch that field again if I was him in 2025 without a contract. This dude is too doggone good to be kicking for $1 million. And another reason why I wouldn't do it if I was him, did y'all see how old Brandon Aubrey is? Brandon Aubrey is 29 years old. If I'm not mistaken, that's the age. Let me make sure. That's the age. Brandon Aubrey is another Cavante Turpin. He has come up through the ranks. I think he was a soccer player. Turns out he's an excellent field goal kicker. This is his last contract. First and last one. I mean, I'm not talking about this little piddly when he got to come in. No, this is the money contract for Brandon Aubrey. He about to get paid. I don't see a scenario. I don't see a scenario where Brandon Aubrey steps back on the field for the Dallas Cowboys in 2025 without a contract. And I'm sorry, I don't believe in holding out, but there are certain players and situations where it may be necessary. He ain't hitting that field again without a contract. Yep, Big Sarge, what's going on? Cowboys should be paying Brandon Aubrey right now. I agree. Right now. Yep, he is. He is. I'm telling you, he could make an argument. He's the best player on the team. Brandon Aubrey's a cheat code. You better believe he is. He's a cheat code. MT, and I always blame Steven. Yeah, Steven is the man that throws the rock and hides his hand. He's the guy who's really tight on the money. 70s fan says, do you know how Dak is able to be at the games while being up? 70s fan, I don't understand it. I haven't figured it out, bro. I haven't figured out how Dak is at the game. I always was, at least from my understanding, because this is one of the things that happened with Tony Romo. When Tony Romo was on IR, he was not allowed around the team. Anybody notice we haven't seen D-Law? I mean, at least I don't think we've seen him. I know I haven't seen anybody showing him on the camera. Typically, when you're on IR, at least from what I thought, they couldn't travel with the team. I don't know, man. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know. I'm just dumbfounded with all this. It says here, no players on injured reserve in most sports, including the NFL, cannot be on the sideline during a game. Now, he hasn't been on the sideline anymore, but Dak was on the sideline. Maybe they hadn't put him on IR at the time. But Dak was over there on crutches on the sideline. It says, however, they can attend games and participate in non-competitive activities like team meetings and practice while on IR. So, 70s fan, I think then The reason why we've always thought this has been a rule is because nobody else does it. Most players on IR don't hang around the team. I guess because they don't have to. So Dak has been doing something that I can't recall where I've ever seen anyone do this. And I've seen people at the home games. Dak is traveling to the away games. He is. Big Sarge says they can't let everyone with expiring contracts walk because they have 30 free agents on the current roster. They're in a pickle. And they definitely can't let Aubrey walk. The Cowboys media is having a love feast for McCarthy right now, and it's probably just what the Joneses want to hear. Watch this. Let's wait. Let's let this all play out. Let's see what the last 2 games look like. Because they are having a love feast on him. At least our media. You hit it right on the head. Our Cowboys media is. Other people are not impressed. Anyone on IR can come to games. They don't have if they don't have C-19 and need to be quarantined. Yeah, I guess the thing is, I just hadn't seen nobody do it. The 70s fan, the Buccaneers were a better team. Baker had some drops. Yeah, he did. Shepard dropped some big ones from his receivers, and our secondary was bowling. Yes, sir. When the Bucs stopped our run game, I thought it was over. You know what? I didn't, because I realized very quickly that Mike McCarthy had a game plan, and it was to throw the ball. But Jay Recruiter made a great comment in the West Coast. The run game, the short passing game is the run game. And so you'll notice very quick passes. Very quick passes. He did a lot of that. And so, yeah, they had a game plan. Belichick just hired his son to be DC on the Tar Heels. It seems like to me, Big Sarge, he's trying to set his son up to get the job when he leaves North Carolina. This is what I heard, that this was some of the stuff that he put in the contract. Now, that is the one thing I don't like about Bill. Bill brings baggage. I don't have a problem with Josh McDaniel. Josh McDaniel is a terrible coach, but under Bill Belichick, he seems to be very good as an OC. But the other guy that he brought, I forgot his name, I think he's actually a part of the team too. He was the coach that almost ruined the Detroit Lions. Roberta says, we need a GM. Roberta says, I'm a football junkie, can't help it. yeah, you hit that right on the hip, that $6 million man. Roberta says, oh, no way. I did not know about that about our kicker. Yeah, he's 29. If you're talking about he's 29, and he's not even making $1 million a year. That man ain't hitting the field. He's not hitting the field again for the Cowboys after this season unless he gets a deal, because I wouldn't. 70s fan said, I know the 49ers beat us after the Tom Brady game, but remember, we beat the Bucs on Monday night and had to play on the road on the following Saturday. Yep. I remember them talking about that. They were talking about they thought that schedule may get to the Cowboys. Troy says that's some BS. You should be able to you should be able to stay with your brothers. Okay, give me what you're talking about on that part. Dak walked out of the tunnel in Carolina with Mike McCarthy. Man, Dak doing some stuff that I just hadn't seen nobody injured doing. I just hadn't seen nobody doing this stuff. Tony Montana says, stop copying Law Nation. I don't even know what that means. I hadn't even watched Law Nation. I haven't watched Law Nation. Please, I don't even know what you're talking about, but whatever. He said maybe Dak is part of ownership now. Hey, man, Troy Dudley, when you get paid $231 million, you are part of ownership. Man, you are a part of the ownership. You're a part of the ownership at $231 million. What you say matters at this point. And so we're going to see. We are literally going to see if the Cowboys, we are literally going to see if they are going to bring Mike McCarthy back. But I'm very intrigued by this. Because I've noticed that Jerry has said everything short of Mike McCarthy is going to be the coach. Now, on this Overreaction Monday, and I'm going to come back and talk about this on the Late Show, but I'm about to give you my craziest overreaction, and I don't even know if it's crazy overreaction. But I'm about to give you the biggest overreaction of the day for me. Let me add some drama to this. Let me put this man's picture up on the screen. Y'all give me just a second. I gotta add some drama. Because I'm gonna tell you what I want to see. There's something that I actually want to see these last two games. And I'm not saying this out of hatred. I'm just telling you the truth. Let me see if I can get me some drama music going here. Let me get me some drama music going. Let me tell you what I want to see, y'all. Y'all tell me what you think. Let's cue the music. Cowboys are out of the playoffs. Mike McCarthy, it is what it is. I don't think there's anything else necessary for Mike McCarthy to prove. They're either going to sign him or they're not. There is nothing that Mike McCarthy can show us, family. There's nothing else he can show us that's going to prove to us he's any different than what he's ever been. Mike McCarthy is what he is. He loves to pass the ball. He'll run the ball if you force him to, but he loves the West Coast offense. It's ingrained in him. He's got a hard time getting away from it. So for me, there's no more evaluation on Mike McCarthy. They're either going to bring him back or they're not. Mike Zimmer, there's nothing else to prove. Mike Zimmer has done more with less the entire season. They asked him to stop the run. He stopped the run. They've asked him now to stop the pass. His secondary. They have played. I mean, they still giving up some points, but they have played and they have not broke when it mattered. And man, they played their butt off last night. We got 30 players that don't have contracts. I mean, we don't know what this team is going to do. But I'll tell you this. Let me tell you what I want to see. Big Pat 56. I'm not even going to let you steal my thunder. Me and you can share in that thunder. This is what I want to see. I'm tired of the Cooper Rush show. And this is not hatred. It's truth. What is Cooper Rush going to show us that we don't already know? He is good for 2 touchdowns per game. Check. I'm not worried about the anomaly, which was the Carolina Panthers, because he still lived up to his average. He only threw 1 touchdown, but he threw 3 against Carolina. We still got our 2 touchdown per game average. We already know that he's not going to be the reason that you're going to win the game. We already know this. We already know that he is a short pass quarterback. We already know this. No zip, no velocity. The further you go down the field, the higher the risk. Unless you scheme wide receivers wide open, Cooper Rush is not going to get it there. Doesn't mean he's not going to get there a couple of times a game. Maybe he'll throw a couple of those really good ones, but they still look like they just don't quite look right. I'm just saying all that to say, what can Cooper Rush show us that would surprise us that he's not what we've seen for 2 seasons now? We know what he is. I want to see Trey Lance. What do you need to win for? What? What do you need to win for? I'm not saying you shouldn't want to win, but what's the purpose of the winning? Because if the purpose is, if you're telling us that Mike McCarthy has to win these last 2 games to get the job, fire him now. Fire him now. Because if you hadn't seen enough Mike McCarthy to know what he is, you're never going to see enough. If you haven't seen enough Cooper Rush, you're never going to see enough. Can we please see what Trey Lance is? The preseason wasn't enough. This dude needs reps. Get him in the game. Get him in the game. Give him the last 2 games. Cooper Rush, y'all, unless he's about to hit free agency. Some other team may scoop him up. I highly doubt it, but hey, the way people been talking about Cooper Rush, maybe there's a team out there that's not looking at the tape. Maybe they'll want him to come in. You used a 4th round draft pick on Trey Lance. He's made $5 million sitting on the bench. Why would you not bring him in now? And I'm telling y'all this. I'm going to give you another hot take along with Trey Lance. If the Dallas Cowboys, with nothing to prove, there's nothing on the line any longer. There's nothing on the line. There's nothing that this team could be playing for other than quote unquote pride and stats. CeeDee Lamb has a bad shoulder. If this team continues to allow CeeDee Lamb to play, and I don't care what CeeDee Lamb is saying, you save CeeDee Lamb from himself. 2025 is coming up. His contract kicks in. Why take the chance of sending CeeDee Lamb into the offseason with shoulder surgery, having to rehab, having to recover? Why not shut him down now? What else does he need? Okay, you want stats? He's got the four years, 1,000-yard seasons. What else can CeeDee Lamb prove? What else is it he's trying to get? Sit CeeDee Lamb down. Shut him down. Do not let CeeDee Lamb play the last 2 games for Mike McCarthy's job. If you're telling me they're going to let CeeDee Lamb play the last 2 games for Mike McCarthy's job, this tells me everything I need to know about this franchise. Shame on them. Shame on them. And don't let CeeDee Lamb, I'm laying it on the line for my guys. There's nothing else to lay it on the line for CeeDee Lamb other than a couple of wins. If they can't win without you, again, it's everything we need to know. Then we need more work to do. You put Trey Lance out there. You line him up with Flanoy. You line up Mingo. And you go out there and get it. They can tell me anything they want to. Any of y'all can tell me anything y'all want to. You can tell me that Trey Lance is terrible and all these different things. I'll take his ability over Cooper Rush. I'll take his ability over Cooper Rush. I've seen enough. I don't need to see no more. And I'm sorry, we all ought to be saying this. What is Cooper Rush but what he is? He's shown us nothing different. He's done nothing different that he did in 2022. Nothing. Nothing. This team needs to play Trey Lance. Period. End of story. Play Trey Lance. I think they're afraid he's going to play better than Cooper Rush. How much y'all bet? I bet you Trey Lance can get 2 touchdowns. How much you bet Trey Lance can get 2 touchdowns? I bet you he can get 2 touchdowns. You go in there and say, we're going to run this ball with Trey Lance. We're going to throw the ball 20 to 25 times. And we're even going to let Trey Lance run it 10 times. How much you bet this offense will do the same, if not more, with Trey Lance? I'm not buying what they're talking. It's stupid. Robert M. says, I've seen enough of Cooper Rush to know fools go when I see it. I've seen enough. I'm not like all these other people. You're not playing for nothing now. Nothing. There's nothing on the line. What? What, bragging rights? So we can say Cooper Rush won how many games? Oh, Cooper Rush this year, he won 5 games. He won 6 games. Stop it. Stupid talk. Put in Trey Lance. Let him get some reps. I think they're afraid. I think they're afraid, Dank. I think they're afraid. I think they're afraid. Trey Lance hit that field, and I'm telling you, I saw it against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry, Trey Lance was moving different. I don't care what anybody says. Trey Lance was moving different in that game, and Trey Lance immediately comes into that game. What does he do? He went right down the field, and that interception he threw, that wasn't his fault. I don't think Tolbert was expecting it. The ball was placed perfectly. All Tolbert had to do was go up for the ball. Sit CeeDee Lamb down, start Ryan Flanoy, start Jonathan Mingo, Jalen Brooks will be back, you got Brandon Cooks, you got Jake Ferguson, put in Trey Lance. I promise you, Trey Lance can get this offense 14 points. We're acting like Cooper Rush has been doing something amazing. No, it's all wrapped up and looks good, just like a Christmas present. But at the end of the day, what's inside of the box is what's inside of the box. You're getting 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals with Cooper Rush. I believe Trey Lance can get the same thing. I believe Trey Lance can get the same thing and even better. I think he'll be more exciting, especially in the red zone. Trey Lance, watch this. You know what I noticed about Rico Dowdle? I like Rico Dowdle. I think Rico Dowdle may need to be in another system, or if he remains here, he's the 2 in the 1-2 punch. You need to get another running back because you need a home run hitter. You need an explosive running back who can at any moment take it to the next level. You know why I want to see Trey Lance? Because the one thing I know, if he breaks out of that backfield and there's nothing but defensive backs, Trey Lance is a home run hitter, and we saw it in the preseason. Trey Lance is the type of quarterback that he can break a 30, 40, or 50-yard run. Yeah, I want to see Trey Lance. I don't want to see no more Cooper Rush. It's boring. Skeptical fan, but you're missing the point. You just answered the question. There's nothing to play for. So why not use these 2 games to let him develop? What are you playing for? And how do you know he'll be gone next year? Because if you let him play 2 games, and if Trey Lance looks good, guess who has the first opportunity to sign him? It's you. You can sign him. I don't want him to be a career backup, so I actually want him to go somewhere else. But I still want to see him play. Let him play. Because I can tell you now, Cooper Rush, the Philadelphia Eagles, has been his kryptonite. And because he can absolutely not get away from a pass rush. Cooper Rush cannot get away from a pass rush. He will be like a sitting duck against the Philadelphia Eagles. He will be. They need to let him play. There's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. And it is a shame to me when I think about how people think. It is shameful. You have nothing to play for. There is no reason to be playing CeeDee Lamb anymore. None. None. There's none. There's no reason to risk it. There's no reason to risk it. Freddie says on this, I respectfully totally disagree with you, G. In my humble opinion, every single time you step on that football field, you play with 100% effort and the intent of winning the game. But we're not actually disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing that when CD steps on the field, if you're talking about CeeDee Lamb, no, we're not actually in disagreement. My argument is he doesn't need to be on the field anymore. What are you playing for? Pride isn't good enough. The man is injured. You mess around and play against one of these teams, and Philly is one of those teams. You mess around and play against one of these teams, and they catch you coming across the middle, and we've already seen sometimes Cooper Rush's ball placement. Man, it gets you killed sometimes. Man, you mess around and place one of these balls in the wrong place, CeeDee Lamb goes for it, and it's over. There is no more reason to play CeeDee Lamb. None. There's no more reason. And we don't need to be trying to save Mike McCarthy's job. There's no more reason. Trey Lance will be gone next year. Do you realize that Cooper Rush may be gone too? Skeptical. There's a lot of people saying that the Cowboys aren't going to bring Rush back. There's a lot of people saying it. I wouldn't be shocked. Because if the Cowboys bring back Rush, trust me, they're going to want to bring him back again on Cracker Jacks. Cooper Rush is not going to challenge Dak Prescott for the starting job on this team. Let him go. He's not going to challenge him. See who else is out there on the free agency market. See, this is the part of us too. We don't think we can get better at backup quarterback. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. We can get better at backup quarterback. We're not replacing our quarterback, but we can get better at backup quarterback. We can. And if I'm Jerry Jones, I've spent a 4th round draft pick on Trey Lance. I want to see what he is. I might want to re-sign him. I hope he doesn't. I'm telling y'all, I've said it before. I actually want the best for Trey Lance. I wish he could go to a team. They pick him up, give him a year, build a team around him, draft a quarterback behind him. If he doesn't pan out in year 2, no harm, no foul, cut him. Now you got his replacement. Still got a lot of ability, man. I want to see him play. I do. Oh, I have no problem with playing to win the game, Freddie. But there's no point in playing CeeDee Lamb. Because if you're telling me you can't win the game without CeeDee Lamb, then that's all I need to know. No, I want to see, can you do it without CeeDee Lamb? We know what CeeDee Lamb is. We're not evaluating CeeDee Lamb here. See, this is evaluation time. This is what we're doing. We're not evaluating CeeDee Lamb. We don't need to see no more CeeDee Lamb. The man is hurt. It's 2 games. Man, CeeDee Lamb, hey, bro, we appreciate your effort. You've been a monster. You've been a leader on this team. Hey, man. But you also need to be a leader on this team also and know when to fold them. Sit down, man. And if you need surgery, hey, matter of fact, let's go ahead and get this thing done now. We're not playing for anything else. Let's do it now. Let's go ahead and get ahead of this thing. Skeptical said they will not play Trey. Devils has a boy. Now see right there? Right there? You hit the nail on the head. Right there, skeptical fan. They have their favorites. And you know another thing I don't like? And see, you're saying it. They're playing CD to save McCarthy's job. Can't stand it. Can't stand it. It's crazy. They have their favorites. And you're hitting it right on the head. It's crazy talk. CeeDee Lamb needs to sit down. Sit him down. Because what are you playing for? Sit him down. Don't risk this man getting further injured. Sit him down. We could say haters say the same about Justin Fields. They're acting like players can't develop. Notice they give up certain players, but ignore how long Sam Darnold was bad until joining the Vikings. Yep. Look at him now. Got players around him. Got a good coach. Got a good GM. Got a good owner. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to materialize into a starting job because they already went and drafted a starting quarterback, and they have every intention on him starting. And I don't blame him. Start him. But they gave Sam Darnold the opportunity, and he took advantage of it. And Sam Darnold is about to go make some serious money with another team, I think. Appreciate you, skeptical fan, for that $2 super chat. Draft Dax number 2 or get a vet in free agency. Yep. Either way, I don't think they're gonna draft Dak's replacement this year. I think they're gonna probably do it in 26 or 27. I would get a free agent. I would get a veteran. I really would. I'd get a veteran. Also have a strange feeling that Cooper Rush may be available. We're going to see, because every time he gets released and everybody keeps talking about how good he is, there's no frenzy on the free agency market. There's no frenzy for him. So we'll see. Will lightning strike again? But I'll tell you this. I want to see Trey Lance. Why not entertain the fans? Let's see what he's doing. I mean, because there's nothing else you can do in this season. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. And skeptical. And this is one of the problems I have, because you're saying something that I don't like. But what you're saying, you can't get around it. They're playing to save McCarthy's job. And at the very best, what is it? He can finish 9-8, which the Philadelphia Eagles going to have a lot to say about that. Because I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles, they're playing for that number 1 seed. They're not going to try to give that up. Robert says it's almost as if they're deliberately trying to hide Lance from showing what he's capable of. Why would you give up a 4th and not play him? Makes no sense. And especially now, Robert, there's no more excuses. There's no more excuses. You're not in contention. And I don't think they're going to beat the Eagles next week. If Jalen Hurts is playing, book it. They're not beating them in Philly. I just don't think it's going to happen. Any given Sunday, it can happen. But Philly is hungry too. It's a divisional game. Anything can happen. I think the Cowboys are going to have a chip on the shoulder now. But at the end of the day, what are you actually proving? You're not... I just believe Trey Lance can get you 2 touchdowns also. I just think he can get you 2 touchdowns. I just don't think it's that hard. I think he can get you 2 touchdowns. I do. Freddie says, and we also saw him 5 interceptions in the preseason game. Freddie, I'm going to counter you. Do we not realize the 2 performances that Cooper Rush has also had against the Eagles? He's been turnover city. Cooper Rush is turnover city against the Philadelphia Eagles. He is. He's turnover city. So if you're talking about turnovers, I mean, you're not going to really see anything. I mean, is it something new? I mean, will it be something new? Turning the ball over against the Philadelphia Eagles? Let me look at something here. So I'm thinking this was that 2022 season. This was 2022. This was Cooper Rush against the Philadelphia Eagles. He had 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions. And he scored his customary. Y'all don't understand. I think some people think I'm making this up. He scored his customary 2 touchdowns. I just don't know if you have another quarterback that has this kind of record. I mean, where you can literally go to the majority of his games and his average is 2 touchdowns. We've seen enough. I mean, we've seen enough. He is what he is. There is nothing left for Cooper Rush to prove. He can't prove to us that he's not Cooper Rush. He can't prove it to us. He's Cooper Rush. You call him what you want to, but he's Cooper Rush. Let's go to the game here. This is Cooper Rush's other game. It's Cooper Rush's other game. Cooper Rush didn't throw an interception in this game. He did something worse than an interception. He threw for 45 yards. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I had to look at that again because I actually thought I had it on the rushing part. No, it's the passing part. Yeah, Cooper Rush threw for 45 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles. So you're telling me, y'all telling me, we keep seeing Cooper Rush against the Eagles. So you're telling me Trey Lance can get worse than this? And if I'm not mistaken, there was also a fumble loss by Cooper Rush. You're telling me we can get worse than that? Trey Lance, I'm sorry, Cooper Rush's performances have been terrible against the Eagles, and I don't see that trend changing. How about you change what you're doing? How about you put a mobile quarterback against them? How about you let Trey Lance go in this game, sit CeeDee Lamb down so he doesn't have to go up there in that cold, taking some severe hits from those safeties and those cornerbacks and those linebackers. I'm telling y'all, Nick Sirianni and his team, they're different. They will be going after CeeDee Lamb. Skeptical fan, I'm not sure if he's becoming injury prone yet. I mean, Dak hasn't really had what you call injury prone injuries. Injury prone is typically soft tissue issues, ligaments with knees and stuff like that. No, he broke a thumb. I mean, what can you do? He hit it on a helmet. He had a person do a drop hip tackle on him, broke his foot. I mean, that's not an injury prone injury. Injury prone on the ankles would be continuously having high ankle sprains, things of that nature, hamstrings. He got it tore off the bone. He didn't have a history of hamstrings. No, I don't think he's injury prone. I think he's just been getting some crazy injuries. Those are two different things. Aaron Rodgers to the Cowboys, man. Aaron Rodgers ain't going nowhere, man. The way he been, I don't even think Aaron Rodgers will back up anybody. Nah, Aaron Rodgers ain't going nowhere. Skeptical fan, I said the same thing. Rush didn't bust a grape in the second half. I mean, this is the perfect segue for Trey Lance. He can't be worse than what Cooper Rush did in the second half. He can't be worse than the 2 performances that we've seen from Cooper Rush against the Eagles, and especially the one from this season. I say let him play. Troy said the only way to win is to find out what you have on your roster, top to bottom. Yeah. I say see what Trey Lance is. 70s fans said the Joneses don't get ahead of anything. Freddie said, oh, yeah, I mentioned that. We saw him in the preseason, but like I said, I just showed you Cooper Rush. Skeptical fan, I don't want McCarthy back either. Wicked says Kurt Jones would definitely sign Aaron Rodgers to pair him with McCarthy. They're saying that Mike McCarthy may be going to a team with Aaron Rodgers. That would be crazy. Dank said it makes complete sense. It's the Cowboys. Freddie says on CD, we both agree. He should shut him down. Yeah, I think we should shut him down, Freddie. I do. Yep, that's what I said. Let Flournoy and Mingo play. And that would also be your excuse. Well, we're not going to play CD. We've decided to sit Cooper Rush. Give Cooper Rush his applause. And let everybody know we've seen everything we need to see from Cooper Rush. He's a great backup quarterback. He's won 4 of 7 games in Dak Prescott's absence. He's done everything we wanted him to do. But we also want to see what we have in Trey Lance. I mean, you're leaving it, you're dangling it out there that you may re-sign Mike McCarthy. Well, dangle it out there that you may re-sign Trayvon Diggs. Let him get out there, man. Let him do his thing. Robert M., if nothing else, let Lance stretch the field. Let's see what Mingo and Flournoy can do. And Trey Lance has a cannon for an arm. He's not accurate. He has a cannon. He does. And I think he could probably hit some of these receivers deep. I do. 70s fan, the Eagles might injure Cooper Rush and Trey Lance forced to play. Man, wouldn't that be crazy? Skeptical fan, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you on the ankle yet. Because I'm thinking the hamstring is on the same leg. So, I don't know. We'll see. But next season's going to tell us everything we need to know, Skeptical. Let's see how he comes back. Jerry Jones, Kurt Jones. Oh, you said Kurt Jones and Jerry Jones. I got you. Hello. Yeah, I got you. Gabe, what's going on? He said, Preach G. Philly's playing to win division with Commanders right behind them. Cowboys ain't winning. Let's see what Trey Lance and Jonathan Mingo got to offer team on the field and not at practice. And, because at the end of the day, Gabe, I just don't understand what Mike McCarthy's going to show him. What is he going to show him? Let's see. Let's go down the line. We've already said the team hasn't quit on him. He hasn't lost the locker room. The team is playing hard for him. He's a great coach. This is what they've been saying. He's a great coach. Won a Super Bowl. Had a lot of injuries. Set up to fail by the Joneses. I just named off 7 things. Do you really need 2 more wins? Do you really need 2 more wins to justify bringing back Mike McCarthy? If you're bringing back Mike McCarthy, there's actually nothing else to see. There's nothing else to see. So are you waiting to say that he didn't have a losing season? 9 wins? Is that what we're saying? Don't understand it. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Roberta said, I agree with you. Bring in Trey Lance. Yep, bring him in. Yep, what is it about Cooper Rush? Did he sprinkle confusion dust on everyone except me? Hey, me too. But Skeptical said something. There are a lot of people who believe that Will Grier outplayed Cooper Rush and should have got that job rather than Cooper Rush. You know why Cooper Rush is here? Because I think Jerry likes him. Skeptical hit it right on the head. And when Jerry likes you, you play. This is why Dalvin Cook isn't playing. Jerry don't like Dalvin Cook. That's not saying he dislikes him. But he doesn't like Dalvin Cook, as in he didn't draft him. That's why Dalvin Cook isn't playing. He likes Rico. He likes Zeke. Cooper Rush is the backup because he likes Cooper Rush. He's already spent the money, though. I'm sorry. I'm getting my money's worth. I am. I'm playing Trey Lance. I'm playing him. Y'all tell me what you think, but I'm playing Trey Lance. Wicked says early prediction on the Super Bowl. Man, it's too early, man. I'll be honest with you, Wicked. Man, I'm having a hard time thinking about. I know everybody's saying that it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. I'm not sold on that yet. I'm not sold on that because there are some potential upsets that could happen. I would not be shocked. Kansas City Chiefs have been playing and dealing with the devil all season long. It would not shock me. It wouldn't shock me if the Chiefs got knocked off. It just wouldn't shock me. I'm going to tell you who I believe the two dark horse teams are. It would not shock me if the Ravens, I would say the Steelers, but the Steelers are starting to show some warts, Wicked. You tell me what you think. They're starting to show some warts. Russell Wilson, man. Starting to show some warts. But, you know, when I look at all four of these teams, I think the Bills and the Ravens, for sure, are capable of knocking out the Chiefs. Only reason I'm afraid of the Steelers, they would literally have to hold the Chiefs below 20 points. They're not shooting out with the Chiefs. They would literally have to hold them below 20 points. Somewhere around 14, 17. Take them out into the deep and find a way to beat them 17, 14, or 2017, 2019. Some crazy score. But when I think about the Bills, I think the Bills can overcome the Chiefs. I also think the Ravens can overcome the Chiefs. And I'm telling you, NFC, Lions are the favorites, but I'm not counting out the Eagles or the Vikings. Heck, I'm not even counting out the Rams and the Packers. Commanders, it's a little too early. They're not going to have a magical carpet ride through the playoffs. So I'm boiling it down to the Chiefs and the Lions, or the Bills and the Lions, or the Bills and the Eagles, or the Ravens and the Lions and the Ravens and the Eagles. I don't think Sam Darnold can beat either of these two teams. I don't think he can beat either of those two teams. So, 70s fan said, if you say that about CD, also could say that about DeRon Bland. Yep. I'd shut him down too. Shut him down. He's at the foot injury. Shut him down. Robert says, so we just going to overlook the fact that Rush had 66 passing yards. Yeah, I already said that. I already brought that up, Robert M. Yep, I already brought it up. He had a fantastic first half and an atrocious second half. Is what it is. So, yeah. Will Grier was brought here to be the emergency quarterback. That's it. It's the only reason why they brought him here. Yep. Brought him here for the emergency. Should have been the starter a couple of years ago, but they just brought him in for the emergency. Brought in a familiar face. But I'm very interested to see what happens with the Cowboys, with the Eagles. I'm telling you, I'm so excited. These last three games have been exciting for me. The game last night was exciting. It was. I was in absolute shock at what they were able to do to the Bucs. Even though, the Bucs aren't world beaters, but the Bucs, they were 8-6. They were a winning team. They beat a winning team. Now, and I don't even say it was a test. There's no more tests for the Cowboys. I'm sorry. We got to stop thinking like this. There's no more tests for the Dallas Cowboys. None. There's no more tests. They are what they are. They are what they are at this point. They're not going to the playoffs. They're saying they're playing for pride. They say they're playing for their coach. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. Sit CeeDee Lamb down. I won't be mad if you let DeRon Bland sit down. Man, put Trey Lance in this thing. Stop playing. Stop playing. Stop playing. I think I'm coming back for the late, late show tonight. I do. Wicked says, I agree. Steelers are not who we thought they were. The really good teams are not letting us off the hook with a moon ball to save the day. They're hitting us with their best punches and Russ yelling Sierra. Man, hey, you seen his wife? Hey, man, I know why he yelling Sierra. This dude here, man, he got a serious distraction there because his wife, it's not like his wife is just a regular housewife. I mean, she out here putting out these videos. Man, I couldn't do it, bro. My wife out here and doing videos like the last one she just did, and then players on my team watching that stuff. Man, I'm built different. I couldn't even deal with that. The real Daryl, appreciate you. Fire show as always. Yeah, we're going to try to come back for the late, late show tonight after this game because it's pretty much nothing. But I'm going to go in here and get some food. And then later on tonight, I think I'm going to come back for the late, late show as well as make some videos for tomorrow and later on tonight. So, my dark horse in the NFC will be the Rams. Yeah, I can see that too. See that too. They're on a run. But that's going to do it for me at this time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit that like button on the way out. Until the next time, let's talk Cowboys. Peace.